Good evening. Welcome to the Vineland Board of Education September 15th, 2021 combined meeting. Roll call, please. Mrs. Leary.
Ms. Acosta.
Here.
Mrs. Cottaspati.
Present.
Mr. Fiocchi.
Here.
Mr. Holmes.
Here.
Mr. Rivera.
Here.
Mrs. Sabrana.
Present.
Mr. Silva.
Here.
Ms. Spinelli.
Here.
Mr. English.
Present. Thank you, Ms. Leary. In compliance with New Jersey Public Meeting Law, commonly referred to as the Sunshine Law, the Vineland Board of Education has caused notice and posting of this meeting to be sent to the following, announcing time and place thereof, agenda, etc. The Daily Journal, SNJ Today, the Press of Atlantic City, Nuestra Comunidad, Visto Bueno, the Clerk for the City of Vineland, and the Administrative Office Public Bulletin Board. At this time, I would ask that everyone please rise for the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Superintendent Yano, as something came to mind, I had one of my fellow board members ask me a question concerning flags, and it was brought to my attention that we might not have some flags actually hanging in classrooms in the school district. And I know you probably don't have the answer now, but I would hope that we have an American flag in every single classroom in our school district. So if that's something that you can look into, I can let my fellow board member know that it's been looked into and it indeed was not true, or if it is true, see what we have to do to get a flag for that, whatever classroom does not have one, please. Thank you. Absolutely. Do we have a resolution for executive session this evening, Mrs. Leary?
Not at this time.
Okay, thank you very much. Superintendent Yano, do we have any special presentations this evening? Here you go. You know what? Let me switch mine over to you. We'll share one.
Thank you. Yes. We have two special presentations this evening. Mr. Ross Stanger, Supervisor for Curriculum and Instruction, will begin with an update on the social studies curriculum and resources. Mr. Stanger, Mr. Fry, we're going to get set up here, so we're going to bring down the screen. Board members, if you don't mind sliding over so we can view the presentation.
I'll present it, right? Thank you, Mr. Yano, Mr. English, Board of Education members. Over the past couple of years, we have placed several curriculum initiatives on hold due to budgetary constraints. Fortunately, this year we were able to update an aging social studies curriculum by working with teachers to identify resources that are aligned with the district's mission and state standards to provide a current, high-quality, comprehensive academic program for all students. Mr. Stanger will provide more details on our process and where we are now with the implementation of our new social studies curriculum. Thank you, Mr. Stanger.
Thank you, Mr. Fry, members of the Board of Education, administration, and members of the public. Thank you. It's a privilege to be here tonight to talk a little bit about the curriculum adoption that we've gone through over the past year. As Mr. Fry mentioned, our goal has been to create an effective program of study that fulfilled the district's mission statement and allowed the students to meet the requirements of the standards. And I can share with you the mission statement if you need it, or the standards. I have them linked in here. Essentially, our process was that we updated our curriculum from kindergarten all the way up through 11th grade, which is the last year of required study for our students. We selected 3 programs overall, the first being TCI, Teachers Curriculum Institute, for grades K to 5, SAVIS, which was formerly known as Pearson, for grades 6 and 7 in middle school, and then grades 9 through 11 at the high school level, and the McGraw-Hill program for civics for grade 8. All series were chosen based upon teachers' input after review last year, and just wanted to share with you quickly. I guess, I don't know, this is my document here. I'm not sure what happened, why I can't see it. But in any event, I can certainly share with you that I trained teachers extensively beginning last year and over the summer and throughout this year through a series of professional development meetings that occurred before teachers left for the summer last May and June. I held voluntary meetings over the summer and various trainings. I've met with members of administration to review with them the various components of the programs and how they work and the capabilities of them so that when they go into the classrooms, they should be familiar with what the teacher should be able to see and do, and the students as well. And then those meetings continued on September 3rd when the teachers came back for the in-service day, and then finally they are continuing ongoing at grade level meetings and individual meetings with teachers as needed. So a couple features of the programs that I think are important to share with you and the members of the public specifically are that all the programs are available online for children at home, and then also in the unlikely event that we need to go out for any type of virtual instruction, whether it be home instruction or otherwise. All the programs are available in Spanish. All of the programs offer Spanish teachers editions, and basically what we did was we purchased 1 copy per student at the elementary level over the next 6 years, and then we purchased at the high school level class sets so that the students are able to refer to the hard copy book in the classroom and then basically use online access at home through the one-to-one initiatives through the district Chromebooks. We chose this manner simply because we found over the years that, number one, hard copy books sometimes disappear or are damaged over time, and then also the books, quite frankly, continue to get larger and larger as there becomes more history and the books are getting heavier. Finally, the programs allow teachers to differentiate their lessons for learners who are working above or below grade level, or for students who have special needs or English language learners. And those capabilities are built right into the programs themselves. Some additional features of the programs include what are called primary sources, which are immediate and first-hand accounts of a topic from the people who had direct connection with it. So if you wanted to connote this to, for example, a car accident, a person who had a direct connection with the accident would be someone in the past who would be able to be referred to as a primary source. And primary sources help us to teach students to question and interpret the past, to understand what their perspective was. And why we're doing this is basically because history is an account of the past, oftentimes just by one person. And the accounts of history differ depending upon one's unique perspective. And so what we do as historians or students of history is rely on evidence from things like primary and secondary sources to construct what we think happened in the past. And what our job is as history teachers is to teach students to interpret the evidence that they examine. And what our teachers are trained to do is use multiple pieces of evidence to expose students to diverse ideas and viewpoints from throughout the past. And I took that line directly from the district's mission statement. We have a variety of skills and pedagogies that we want to use and also to develop, and I've shared these both with the teachers themselves but also with the administration so that when we go into the classrooms there is a united idea and a united view of what we're looking for. and what best practices are. We have a series of civic dispositions that we would like to develop. And again, I took these directly from the mission statement or from the state standards. And basically, the way that the standards work, just a brief overview of them, and this is my final slide, is that the standards are introduced in what are called grade bands, which you'll see in this line here. And they continue, beginning after grade K to 2, the students have to master basically the same set of standards, but in a little bit more complex way in grades 3, 4, and 5, and then in grades 6, 7, and 8, and then finally in grades 9, 10, and 11, and 12. But basically what you can see and what I've tried to do is illustrate how there is one basic standard. For example, this one's talking about the community and the role of government leaders, like yourselves, for example, and how that same idea is just made a little bit more complex over time as the students mature. That concludes my formal presentation. If any of you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them for you at this time. Okay. Mr. Fry explained that the PD, the professional development link, is shared, so I'm going to share that with you now. And basically, what I tried to do was list a series of activities and when they took place. And I've also linked for you, I believe it's linked to your agenda. You should be able to see some of the presentations that I used, other Google Slide presentations and whatnot. Some may be recordings as well. But you know, we've done a variety of different things, like I mentioned, ongoing, and then we have some future things that also include training from Rowan University professors who are going to be going into the classrooms and talking and sharing best practices and suggestions with the teachers based upon what they see. Do any of you have any questions? Yes, sir. I believe it's already shared as part of your document, but if it's not, I can certainly do that. I believe the presentation itself is shared with you, and I'll make sure that the settings are such that you can open up all the links. My pleasure. Thank you.
There we go. It wasn't plugged in.
Oh, it's working now.
Yes, it wasn't plugged in from the bottom.
We do have a spare.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Stanger, for the presentation. I believe was there a question you wanted to come up to? Okay, thank you. So, come back to the podium, Mr. Stanger.
First, thanks for the presentation. Maybe just for the public's knowledge on this more than everyone, there are a lot of controversial issues on the horizon, and I'm not going to pick on any one particular one, but when the Department of Education sends down certain mandates to the school district, do they tell you you need to teach the legacy of Scott English's Vineland Board of Education president from A to Z, or do you interpret it as the bare minimum? How do you address a mandate from the state like that?
Are you referring to the standards
Yes.
and the laws?
Yes.
So the standards, it's an interesting question. The standards for social studies are somewhat more nebulous than are the standards for some other areas. So for example, it might talk about the effects of destruction from World War I or World War II in the standards. And so what our job is as teachers and the supervisor is first and foremost to make sure that all of the standards are covered through what's called a standards map. And I map out where each of the standards is covered in the grades, in those grade bands that I referred to in the presentation. That's the main thing. And there certainly are, they are basically the minimum. And so we certainly do have the ability to cover more than those things if time is available. However, the demands of the state seem to continue to be increasing rather than decreasing, unfortunately. So it is the main mission, to summarize, to cover those standards.
So realistically, if a teacher, periodically a board member will get an email that a certain topic was discussed to the level where they felt it was not something to the standards that they would like their student to learn that particular area. But it is up to the teacher's discretion to dig into the topic as deep as they choose to. Is that correct?
I guess theoretically, yes, as long as they uphold the demands of the district's pacing chart, yes.
Perfect.
We do have pacing charts for all of our
Okay.
curricula.
Appreciate that. Does
Sure.
anyone have any other questions for Mr. Stanger this evening? Not right now. Seeing none, thanks again for your presentation, and have a good evening.
Thank you, my pleasure.
Thank you again, Mr. Stanger. Mr. Fry, thank you. Dr. Sneeden, please come on up. Dr. Sneeden will be presenting, or providing an update on the Equity Committee's work. Dr. Sneeden.
Good evening, members of the board and the community. Here giving an update on the Equity Committee, which, as you may know, was established back in January of 2021. We have currently 66 members from the community, our schools, teachers, administrators, and several board members. We have our newest member, Mr. Yano, who has joined us in our work. We meet monthly, and we have met during the months of the school year. Over the summer, we took off the month of June, we met in July, and we took off August, so we're looking forward to rejoining, and it will be our first in-person meeting here in this room, socially distanced, on September the 23rd. That will be the first time this committee has actually seen each other outside of a Zoom, so that's something we're really looking forward to. As with any equity committee, we're starting off slow and getting all of the foundation. We have created a mission and a vision and some bylaws. You have the mission and vision at your seats tonight. The group started with 8 subcommittees, and 2 of them have kind of disbanded, the bylaw and mission and vision, because those are created. Remaining, we have 6 subcommittees for training opportunities, curriculum, hiring practices, discipline data, our purpose and goals, and community partnerships and outreach. Those are all existing subcommittees. Members of the whole committee can join subcommittees as they wish. Moving forward, we look forward to digging into some of the work, research, and gathering of data that we need to do. And we are hoping to get some professional training for the group. We look forward to seeing what the vision for this committee is of our new superintendent, and a possible partnership down the road with a university, possibly. So that's where we're at right now, and we're looking forward to this year as we work towards continuing our work on the Equity Committee. Does anyone have any questions?
Just a quick comment. Danielle, thank you for the information. I would hope that we quarterly can continue to update the board on this. And I apologize if I missed you say this. What is the idea? They meet quarterly, or what are the idea of meeting as a group?
So we started meeting via Zoom in January of 2021 at the creation of the committee, and we met every month on the third Thursday of the month, or the final Thursday, I don't know, whether it's the third or the fourth Thursday of the month. I'd have to look at my calendar. Yeah, it's the third Thursday of the month, and the subcommittees meet in between, so that some people will have other meetings to go to depending on which subcommittee they are on, if they're on more than one. But we meet as a group of the whole once a month. They've all been on Zoom. Our first in-person one will be on the 23rd of this month.
If someone wants to join the public, say when they finish their term up as a board member, is that something that is open to the public to join at any time, or is it capped?
Oh, no. So members of the community, we never put a cap on anything. We have 66 members right now, and one new, well, Mr. Yano came on board when he came to Vineland, but one of the members of the teaching staff at Vineland High School saw me in the hallway and said, hey, can I still join? I said, absolutely. So I just went back to my office and added them, and now he's getting all of the emails and has access. We have a shared folder where we put all of our resources online. So members of the community are certainly more than welcome to become a part of the group.
Perfect. Does any board member have any other question this evening? Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Sneeden.
Thank you.
Superintendent Yano, is that it for this evening on special presentations?
Yes.
Thank you. I see your mics. At this time, I ask that we have a motion for the approval of minutes from July 22nd, 2020. Is that right? Yes. Yes. August 5th, 2020, executive session. November 11th, 2020, executive session. July 7th, 2021, combined meeting. July 7th, 2021, executive session. July 28th, 2021, board retreat meeting, and August 4th, 2021, combined meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Do I have a roll call, please?
Ms. Acosta?
Yes, but abstain from 11/11/20 and July 7th, 2021, the combined meeting and executive session.
Okay. Thank you. Ms. Catasparty?
Yes.
Mr. Fiocchi?
Yes.
Mr. Holmes?
Yes.
Mr. Rivera?
Yes.
Mr. Sobrana?
Yes.
Mr. Silva?
Yes.
Ms. Spinelli? Mr. English?
Yes to all, and no for August 4th, 2021, combined meeting.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, do we have any committee reports? Seeing, you have a committee report?
I'm technically not a committee, but I'm liaison for the preschool.
As liaison for preschool, we like to have a quarterly report from you anyway, so it would be a nice time to have one. Thank
Okay.
you.
We finally were able to meet in person, and Dr. Yano and Ms. Leary were there. They were introduced to our preschool, and I did say that right? Oh, sorry, soon, right? And we all met, and we were discussing protocols and the new items that were going to be up for the preschool, private providers. Everybody was very excited on getting back into the district. Ms. Godlewski was there. She gave us a report. It was a very nice meeting. Everybody, I think, was so excited to see everybody. Everybody was encouraged to see our two newest members in the district. Hopefully, our meetings will stay in person. It's just a little bit, I think, more personal, and we can get a little bit more done that way. So that's pretty much it right now. I do stay in touch with the preschool providers, all of, private and our district, so.
Thank you, Ms. Catasparty. As always, we always state how important, when I became a board member, I thought of ourselves as a K-12 district, and you never give enough credit to the preschool side of it, and that's really the foundation where it begins. And we both have outstanding in-district, and our private providers do an outstanding job getting our kids ready for that first day of kindergarten. So thank you for your reports. I always enjoy them. Superintendent Yano, I'm glad you got to meet the group. I mean, it's a great community, and the vision is to keep these kids in the Vineland Public School District as long as we can. So we have great foundation there. So thank you for that committee report, Ms. Catasparty. Do I have any other committee reports this evening?
Yeah, the Transportation Committee met on Monday, 13th. I'm going to ask Mr. Hall to give the summary report from that meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Holmes. Mr. Hall will be coming to the podium.
Good evening. You should have gotten a packet for this presentation. The first page that we have there are schools that we currently transport, and the first day of school for each one of these is here. I believe it's 14 schools besides Vineland that we transport. The second page is a summary of the first day of school. First day of school, well, let me take it back for a second. All of our bus routes are tiered, and what I mean by tiered is we have high school, middle school, and elementary school. So when something happens to something at the top, it trickles down. So basically what happened is the first day of school, we had issues with a lot of traffic at Vineland High School. That traffic jam, which went back from Vineland High School back to almost where Acme is located on Chestnut Avenue, affected all the routes that come below it, around 5,000 students, okay? So that traffic jam went on for probably a month, for Thursday, Friday, and part of Monday. Got with administration out there, they made some adjustments, and yesterday and today, there was major improvements. So we're moving forward with getting to school on time. The other part, which is really important here, is our late buses that we're having. There is a national and statewide driver shortage that we're experiencing, as well as the rest of the nation. Currently, we're 6 drivers short, which affects 12 routes every day. We have 11 unfilled budgeted positions that we're trying to fill. We have a total of 17 open positions in transportations for bus drivers. And basically what that means is if we had 6 people walk in right now and become bus drivers, we would be even. And that wouldn't cover additional vacation, sick, and personal, and so forth, okay? Part of the reason that we're having driver shortages is because of the CDL licensing. It takes a long time to get a license. It takes 6 weeks to get a test date to get a permit for the written part of it, and then it takes another 6 weeks to actually take the written or the driver's test. So we're dealing with that. We have a really good training team that works with these folks, but we need to get them in to get permits for them. So that's a big part of what we're going through right now. Other districts: Philadelphia, Glassboro, Toms River, Massachusetts. They're getting very, very creative on how to deal with the shortage. Philadelphia is doing bell time adjustments. Glassboro is reducing their school day. Toms River adjusted their bells. Massachusetts, they brought in a National Guard to help them drive their school buses. So we have a pretty big problem with the shortages that we're having right now. Some of the things that we're trying to do is, we're trying to increase the communication. We have blackboards that go out. We're trying to be more efficient with our bus routing, and our route tiering, which is timing. Trying to do some adjustments with that. We're also looking at some different options when it comes to a parent app for parents to be able to figure out where their kids are when they get on the bus, when they get off, and so forth. So we're working on those as well. School registration. We, from March 1st until August 23rd, we registered 1,032 students. And then from August 23rd to September 12th, we registered 362 students. We've done 376 address changes for people that moved around and come in and try to get in to get their address changes. We've been working on that. So since March 18th, we've done 376. The last page is a chart basically that shows what Vineland Public Schools does and what we do with everybody else. So there's Vineland, which is 85%, charter, choice, out of district, and then we have CC Tech that we also do. Do you have any questions for me?
Mr. Hall, I want you to understand that when things are great, I praise and thank people, and when things aren't good, I have to, as board president, I take the bullets for what's going on in the district as much as I can. And when I don't have knowledge of the answers, I do my best to find out. First, thank you for the presentation this evening. On the positive side, we're registering students, so students are coming to the Vineland Public School District, which is a good thing. Is that an average yearly, or is that up? Is it down? What are your thoughts there?
I can't tell you exactly. I know that, with the off year, it just seems like there's more students that are being registered right now.
Okay. I'm very passionate about transportation because at one point, the transportation department, as many people know, was, without lack of a better word, was in a bankrupt mode because the money was not being funded in there the way it was in years past. Make a long story short, we come up with a transportation committee to make sure that first of all, we committed to staying into the transportation business. We put a beautiful lot next door. This transportation committee was started as an ad hoc committee, and we quickly realized that this business called transportation is huge. The first thing our students see in the morning is what? The bus driver. The last thing our students see in the afternoon is what? The bus driver. It is a huge customer service business. The Vineland Board of Education, the 9 board members sitting up here, we are invested in making this transportation department the best that it can be. The Transportation Committee is designed to make sure that you are given every tool to succeed. Recently, both yourself and Ms. Ferrari received new job titles approved by the board, and they're very detailed on what your duties are. This is by no means an evaluation of the job that the department's doing or anything. They're more the expectations of the board president, Scott English, speaking today. When I say we're in the customer service business, I understand we have this tool called Blackboard, which is great, but I worked last Thursday outside. It was pouring rain. It was nasty. I didn't get to my phone until 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and when I saw that phone, I knew I was in trouble. So if I knew I was in trouble, I knew where the majority of the issues were. I happened to have a blood test early that morning. I saw the nightmare at the high school. I just can't stress this enough. I am a parent, but my kids have moved on. Any parent that did not receive, we are the social media kings to get, I know when a hiccup happens in the North Building classroom in 5 minutes. For the public parents to not know where their kids were for 30 minutes, 40 minutes, 60 minutes, 90 minutes is just not acceptable to me. And I've said to myself, what did I do wrong in not providing the transportation department with the proper tools to get this communication happening? It shouldn't be acceptable that a police officer is pulling a bus over to make sure our students on there. The only people that are answering their phone is the police station. I understand that it was all hands on deck, and I heard everyone did the best job, and I thank you for that. I feel bad for the punching bag people of our district that had no idea what was going on with the transportation side, but courageously answered their phones, principals, secretaries, teachers. The bottom line is, you've heard Dance the Song before. I know you're trying to give it your best effort. I need to know if the Vineland Board of Education is failing you in any way. I appreciate the 9 pages here, and I have probably 8 or 9 questions on each page, so I might extend this meeting a little bit longer. So before I go any further, I want to ask each board member, do you have anything, or would you like me to continue? I will continue then. Concerning schools we currently transport, I understand we transport a lot of schools, which which we do. But I think we stated, and Mr. Holmes, you could correct me if I'm wrong, I care about all students we transport, but if we can't transport a Vineland Public School District safely to and from school, and we are doing other schools, getting them on time, we got to be better than that. I don't know how we can be better than that, but we have to be better than that. And I know you're working on it, but this is me letting the public know, because the public reached out to us because we're the voice for the people. That's why we're up here. Page number 2, Vineland Public Schools opening. Are we doing something different at the high school? We are no longer dropping all kids off under the canopy
The first 3 days of school, we did not use the canopy
because
because they wanted to drop off at the wings at the north building, and then they came back into the south building, and they dropped off there.
So is that a logistical principals call, or is that a transportation call that should come from you as the transportation guy, that this is going to cause tremendous backups?
That was done at the school level.
Okay. That's something then that has to be discussed integrally. I also, when I went to school and the bus got there at 10 minutes to 7, we got let off the bus. The bus was able to go on to their next route. I understand contractually that cannot be done. I don't know if we need to sit down with the unions. Dr. Rossi puts his thinking cap on. He has a great relationship with the UAW. Is it time to possibly give a security guard a stipend to show up at that school auditorium, 3 or 4 of them, 7 o'clock at the high school? We funnel the kids into there and let that bus move on to stop the creation. I mean, it's not rocket science to me. It's the High Chaparral, cattle herding is what we do, gun smoke. We grew up watching this stuff. I mean, it sounds like it's easy to me, and that is no disrespect. But as board members, I didn't go to sleep Sunday night because I started thinking, I got to make this better. I have to make this better. I'm a free board member, does this for free. I chose to do it. I wear the hat. But I'm coming up with ideas, and maybe you thought of these ideas. I think I want this to get on the record because the public believes the Vineland Board of Education is not doing their due diligence when it comes to transporting our kids to school. And when that happens, I'll take the bullet for my board members, but I need other people to own it with me. That finishes the high school piece. So I think we can have some better conversation with high school administration and things like that. And if you were...
Let me just jump in. So on the 4th day of school at Vineland High School, we did roll out a completely new drop-off pattern. Dr. Sneeden was there. She observed how it was conducted, and that was put together with the facilities team, Mike Hall, building administration, and there's definitely been a major improvement in the timing of drop-off. They split car drop-offs and bus drop-offs using the overhang area. So just want you to know that's already been addressed, and I'm glad that it's in progress. Dr. Sneeden?
Yeah, just so you know, the one that they were using the first 3 days of school is the one that they used during the hybrid, during COVID, and it really was much more advantageous educationally to drop off each group of kids at one at the Tanner building, one at the South building, and they were doing the 2 drop-offs. When all of the students returned to the campus, it became clear very quickly that that wouldn't work, and we went back to the, what's this called? Yeah, back to dropping them off at the canopy.
Okay, thank you. And in the plumbing industry, Mr. Farinacci probably can relate to this, Mr. Salerno as well. We have something called a rough-in inspection, okay? No plumber wants to fail a rough-in inspection. What the plumber does is he adequately prepares his job site for that rough-in inspection so he doesn't fail that rough-in inspection. Do we have dry runs to see what the heck's going to go on the first day of school? Or do we just wing it and say, whoa, I got to bring Dr. Sneeden in to clean this up on the 3rd day of school?
All schools over the summer, they review their procedures, they prepare their emergency plans, their reopening plans, they've submitted all their plans to Dr. Sneeden. There's a review. Of course, every plan needs to be adjusted based on what happens on that day. It's been adjusted, there's been major improvements, and I'm sure we're going to adjust it again and again as the change in balance between car riders and bus riders shifts. Right now, because of the concerns around COVID, many parents are driving their kids to school, resulting in double, if not triple, the number of cars lined up blocking entrances and exits. That's going to change over time as people get more comfortable with our buses, and so we'll be continually revising those plans. So yes, it will change again, but we definitely had an initial plan that we looked at.
And I definitely mean no disrespect towards this, but what it is, I'm not a fan of trial and error, and I never have been when it comes to something as important as transporting our kids to and from school. That being said, I understand that these times are different. I totally get that as well. But it's not like we had 2 months to prep. Realistically, we should have been prepping for the last, since COVID started. We were at 50% capacity. So now we're 100% capacity. We had to know what the heck was going to happen, I would think. I could be wrong. But I think the point I'm trying to make, I hope everyone heard me loud and clear. And, you know, if you need me to spell it out more, I'm free after the meeting, and I could spell it out a little clearer. I see Ms. Cottaspati is raising her hand, so what do you have for me?
I do have a couple questions, actually.
Okay.
When you were talking about trial and error, my mind was going a little different direction. I understand what you're saying about, you know, going to the schools. That's great. That seems to be an improvement. But do we, when we have, you know, in the beginning of the year, or we get new bus drivers, do we give them like a list so they can drive around in their car? Because I know when my husband did it years ago, you know, a couple of years ago, he got his list, he went around and he, you know, in our car, and he got accustomed to the route, so he kind of knew where he was going. That could cut time off. And when you have your seasoned drivers, they know it, but these new people,
Yeah, the drivers were given their routes on August 20th, and they did their dry runs. And I mean, we had 2 extra days with the holidays that they were actually doing them. So they did come and do their routes.
okay. And I have another question. Identification, the Easy Pass, I'm not sure.
Z-Pass.
Z-Pass.
Yes.
I'm not sure where we're at with that. I just know in the past, it's been there for the kids in the very beginning. I know parents couldn't find kids or didn't know where their kids were, and then when we had that initially before, unfortunately, superintendent is new to, I mean, for this district, he's new, so I can't, I'm going with our you know, our people that have been here. Where's this information coming from? Where is this?
The Z-Pass system that we had, we discontinued using it. We've got new software, which we're going to go in another direction, which is much better than what we were using.
Okay.
Mr. Hall, can you explain what the Z-Pass, what that software allowed us to do?
The new software?
No,
Yeah, the
what
old
Z-Pass
The
allowed us
Z-Pass
to do.
system was basically a card, an RFD card like this, where a student would get on the bus and they would scan, boop, and it would tell you where the student got on the bus, where they got off, and so forth. An issue that we had is we had many students that would forget them or didn't want to scan in or didn't want to bring it, so we dealt with those issues. We got on with a new software company that has a parent app with the same type system. It's just, you walk in and it scans you on, and you can set the app up, kind of like a Grubhub thing, to tell you if it's a mile away from your house, if it's 50 feet away from your house. So it's a much better system, and we're heading in that direction.
How long have we had this, and why hasn't it been implemented? I'm just curious because this is the first time I'm hearing about it, so
Okay.
I'm asking, and I'm asking for anybody who's watching tonight.
It hasn't been implemented yet. We changed softwares from VersaTrans to TransFinder. We're being trained on TransFinder now. We're hoping to be online with that 100% in November. So once we get online with that, then we can start bringing these other things online with it.
So what was in place for the first day of school for parents to know where their children were?
Well, we had to make a commitment either to the Zonar or to the TransFinder, so we couldn't really get involved with that at that time.
So there was no communication to parents for the first day of school when we had buses late to and from?
other than Blackboard that we send out when the buses are running late. But as far as the cars, the cars are non-existent right now.
I did see an email where I know that, after the first day, I do appreciate the on-call going out for them. That helps. But me as I don't have a student in the district, but there are times that I can't get to my phone. So, I just think sometimes we might have to think about it, but I appreciate the on-call going out because I think that was important after that first day.
And that's set up by route. So if a route is going to be late, Mr. Hall and his team is able to send a dedicated, specific phone call, text blast to that specific group. What he's talking about is going to be a major enhancement that many school districts are not doing, which would be GPS-enabled way for a parent to see exactly where their child is at any given moment, where they are, how far from home, what route they're on. That's going to be a major improvement in November, as long as everything moves forward.
I think that's great. I think that sounds good, but I have a concern from now to November.
How long is this going to take us to put into place?
Mr. Hall said November. That's his date that he provided us tonight. In between would be what has been done in the past, which is using Blackboard.
But this is, sorry to cut you off, this isn't something brand new, right? We've had time to prepare for us to implement this app and have all of you trained to use it. So,
ZPass, I'm not sure what the implementation was last year. That was brought in last year, and then it was, it was not rolled out.
If we took away ZPass, we don't have the app, we didn't use Blackboard like we should have, there was nothing in place for parents to know where their children were, especially, I'm talking elementary school students, which, alluding to Mr. English, what he said, having to contact the police department to get in touch to find out where their students were.
Exactly. That's not acceptable that we have to call a police department to find where an individual child is. I'm not sure about the timeline for implementation for ZPass that started last year, but it did not ever actually get executed. There was a decision made at some point to switch software programs. The new software program is supposed to provide a higher level of service. There is still this time in between until we get that launched, which would be, according to Mr. Hall, November. In the meantime, Blackboard is the system that has been used. That's the best way for us to identify which route, but it's not at the student-specific level. That'll come in November. That'll be a major enhancement, but we don't have that right now, from my understanding.
So the word blackboard, when I think of blackboard, I think of when I was in kindergarten, the blackboard. So some of us, and I know not know what the heck blackboard is. So this blackboard is some type of tool to communicate. Okay. Who is allowed to use it? How do we get it hooked up to Miss Masori so she can social media blast the heck out of it? No disrespect. I saw Mr. Yano's face on every social media site welcoming the school district. I saw nothing like that about your kids would be 90 minutes late. How do we hook up Blackboard directly to Miss Masori so she can send a blast out? Does it, if you're not there, who's in charge of sending it out? How does it happen?
We have dispatchers and phone operators that send them out. When buses are running late, they send those blasts out.
Were they absent the first day?
No, they were not.
No, they were not.
Were they I'm sorry. Were they absent today? I went to Wallace School to observe the dismissal there today because of all of the talkings, and I want to see it firsthand. There were over 100 students that were sitting in the auditorium waiting for a bus to go home. Most of those parents did not get a notice from Blackboard to let them know that their kids were not getting home at their scheduled time. So are we actively using Blackboard? Like, if we're going to do away with ZPass, then to me, there's something has to be in place to follow that up.
Can I make a comment?
Yes.
So we use Blackboard in Bridgeton, so Blackboard is not something you just send out a blast. You have to create groups per buses. So I can't send 1,000 Blackboards out for every individual student that's going to be late. So it's something that has to be created in groups per buses, per student. You can't post it on Facebook that bus 90 is going to be 35 minutes late, but I understand what you guys, the frustration is, but it's something that has to be set up prior to all of this happening. So has to sync with Genesis, you have to create groups, you have to, it's a lot, entails a lot. I mean, you can send a blast to the entire school district, but you're gonna send 100 blasts every time a bus is late. Every single parent's gonna get the blast for different buses.
And I respect your knowledge on the Blackboard, so that's telling me Blackboard's not the right tool in my opinion, because nobody got it. Maybe somebody got it, but again, I knew 5 times a day, every day, where and when I was supposed to pick up free lunch for my students, and my kids graduated 10 years ago for the last year and a half. So how's that happen and my kid's 90 minutes late? I'm sorry, guys. You're not going to, I'm sorry.
Did the Z-Pass, when the kids scanned it, did it send a message to a parent saying student A just walked into the bus?
It did.
Okay. And the parents had to set it up, or you set it up for them?
A parent would have to set it up, go on the website, set it up, and then they would get alerts, what time they got on, what time they got off, you know.
Yeah, that was a whole nother beast. That was a whole nother beast. Okay, I'm going to move to the next page, which is national statewide driver shortage. Again, that has not been any secret this hasn't been 2 weeks, this hasn't been 2 months, this has been a long time. I don't believe this is day-to-day operation. It's not the job of the board to run the day-to-day operation, but we definitely provide the oversight for something like this. My concerns, we're currently down 6 drivers, which means it affects 12 routes. So maybe I'm understanding this incorrectly, but if I'm understanding this the way I think I am, until I get 6 drivers, I'm going to continue to have late buses. Correct or incorrect?
Correct.
So I got a problem with that. So, again, I know I've tried to get drivers into the Vineland Public School District, and now they run into this state BS, okay? When it comes to the state, we're getting stonewalled. Has the Vineland Public School District, we've known long enough that we didn't have enough bus drivers. Has anyone contacted the state to see what we can do to possibly bring a South Jersey, we built a beautiful bus yard, why can't we be a hub for the state testing right here? I don't know if I should be suggesting that. Is that something that comes from a superintendent? Is that something that comes from you? Because the state's not satisfying us, and our students and parents are suffering. And again, I'm just throwing things out there because this is where I feel like I'm micromanaging unless it's a good idea. Ms. Spinelli, we're chatting the other night about it, 9 o'clock at night, and she comes up with the idea, we've had several good bus drivers retire the past few years. Have we reached out to the retired bus drivers? If there was 20 bus drivers that retired, if we could maybe get 10 of them to commit to 2 or 3 routes, it's better than no routes. Maybe it's been done, maybe it hasn't. Maybe I'm micromanaging, maybe it's a good idea. I mean, I believe something like this, it's got to sometimes be all hands on deck to help this department. But again, it's all done through great communication with a transportation committee that the way the product was rolled out the first 3 days of school, I think the transportation committee should have been meeting 3 times a month until we knew what the heck we were going to do. Or I would have been 100% fine if I knew that we were going to be 90 minutes late and no parents were going to be notified. Then I would have said, I blew it, I didn't let the public know as board president. But I found out the same way a lot of parents and board members found out. My concern with this bus driver shortage is, I know we posted some signs that look like yard sale signs. Are we looking tri-state-wise, Dr. Rossi? What are we doing to get bus drivers?
like most complicated things, this has many facets to it. There is a back and forth with other driving facilities, such as Shepherd, that are raising hourly rates. There are some individuals who would look at that number as being desirable in lieu of the pension that is offered here, the benefits and the holidays that are offered here. So short of a bidding war, we have lost people this summer to higher hourly rates elsewhere, something that we've talked about as an administration. It's a very challenging situation. The cumbersome process to get a driver trained and certified is another problem. The anxiety of driving in an environment where retail, fast food, and other competitors are paying somewhat similar rates without any responsibility that a driver has. There are many facets to this, and we are looking to add drivers, but it takes so long that some of them don't want to go through that process. There's obviously facets about the background check and the fingerprinting, and there's costs involved with that. So there are many issues that we're confronting, and one of them being the hourly rates, others being the responsibility level. There's many.
Thank you, and I totally understand that. But again, currently, when I drive by Pillar School and see cars going 50 mile an hour down Lincoln Avenue, and I see parents that are in line, they can't wait any longer, they're opening their door to get their kid out, then I got the danger of the kid's safety and things like that. It's just matriculating into, the majority of those parents probably should have their kids on a bus, but for some reason it could be the COVID, it could be the bus didn't show up. It's just has to, I can't say it enough, it has to be better. And we're all hands on deck as a board to make sure it happens. And I don't know, we continue to hear things about the state, and I'm hard on the state. The state's keeping us from transporting our kids right now. Is that a correct assumption?
There are processes in place that certainly annoy me as far as being a paraprofessional. Mrs. Godlewski and I talk about this every day, how we lack employees to work with our autistic population because it's challenging work and it requires 60 college credits or the paraprofessional exam. I would argue that a good, reasonable adult who passes the background check could do some of this work, but the state tells us what it requires. And we are in a changing working environment as we're discussing here tonight. So yes, there are stipulations above us that are, they handcuff the district in many ways.
Whose job is it fair to ask whose job is it to petition the state? We need help.
Well, we've had that discussion
Is it
with
the board president? Is it the superintendent? Is it the HR guy? Is it the transfer? Is it all of us? We're suffering here. We're floundering. We're failing.
And also, if I could say, in fairness to Mr. Hall and his department, there are address changes all through the summer and late into the enrollment process. And they are then accountable for the routes and the changes, as are the school principals who are pulling their hair out. So in a very large district that we are in, there are lots of challenges that would seem common sense from a distance, but there are certain challenges, shall we say, that make it difficult. And I agree that we need to be better, but there are serious challenges for many reasons.
What bothers me probably most of all, then, we didn't put the best product out there. No fault of transportation, because I can talk another hour about several other things. And it's, again, if we cannot put the best product out there, I'm not the virtual king, but kids would have been a lot safer, a lot less hectic would have happened if we were in a virtual world the first 2 months of school, which probably nobody wanted. But this is the problem I have with decisions that are made by the higher people. They tell the Vineland Public School District and Superintendent Yano, here's the dice, roll them and figure it out. And that's very unfair to staff members, to parents, to students, to all of us here. I'm very frustrated tonight, this past week, and you guys know the passion that I bring, and I support everyone. And I know you, Mr. Hall, you know me. This is not an evaluation. We are here to help, and I am here to help. And I want you to know that. In case somebody ever questioned that, they can turn on the tape and see this. I know you're doing the best that you can do, but your hands are tied here. And at what point does the board president have to go sleep in Trenton to get these answers? I mean, is it going to take a student to, God forbid, get hurt, possibly die with some kind of a transportation type thing? Not on my watch, but boy, it could happen the way it's been. I know you've been driving around. I could say Petway. I could say all the schools. It's just something that I don't think we could have prepared for. But son of a gun, people were mad that we delayed school 2 days. We might have needed to delay it 2 months, to be honest with you. But that's just me speaking. Thank you for the information on the driver shortage piece and the CDL. I would like to see something go out to the state. I will gladly endorse it and sign it tomorrow morning, asking for some type of help, or let them come see that I think we can give the CDL test here. I believe we can. Why can't we? Let them tell them why we can't have it.
We'll look into that. I'm sure it's highly regulated process, so I don't know, but it's worth asking that question. I also just wanted to clarify that I received just a couple pages worth of all of the Blackboard calls that were bus route specific, just to verify, to make sure that these calls are going out, communication is happening. We have highly dedicated dispatch team, part of the transportation team. These folks are highly stressed because they know that the anxiety families have when a child is missing or misplaced or late. So this is, it should be very clear to everyone here that we take this very seriously. I know we're talking about it very passionately, but some of the questions almost make it sound as if we don't care, and I want to make sure that we care deeply. We meet daily. People come to my office crying about how they need to do certain things differently. We're adjusting routines, we're making enhancements, we're looking at positions, we're working across the table with our union partners who are meeting us halfway to improve routes, safety, efficiencies, and driver, support. Because it all comes down to that route, that first initial person. If the driver is ready to ride that day and have a great, successful day, perfect. Now, are they available to us to do additional work? We're fixing those efficiencies and making sure we can do the best that we can for our students. So we want to make sure that we're just showing a lot of respect to our team. We do have a lot to improve. Mr. Hall knows that. He's heard it directly from us, and he's identified it himself as far as the areas that need to be addressed. And you will see, as a result of this process, an action plan that will be developed, but it can't be done overnight. It has to be done carefully to make sure we're not breaking something that isn't broken, that we're only improving those areas that need to be improved, and Ms. Leary and her team are going to be working through that. So you'll see a report back at a later board meeting with specifics, exactly how are we going to attack this, because we'll be asking this Board of Education for support, whether it be changes in, let's say, start times for schools, greater tiered times in between each building arrival and dismissal, additional positions possibly, or changes in structures. So that'll be coming at a later board meeting.
Yes, and I thank you for that. And again, anybody that knows me, it is no disrespect. And I said that in the beginning, this is not evaluation. This is more an expectation as a taxpayer, a board president, and someone that cares passionately to keep us. I want us to be, I want to read about us on Action News. I got to hear what the superintendent in Philadelphia is doing. I want to hear that Vineland superintendent's doing that. That's what I'm about, because you know what? These ideas are all great, but are we thinking of these?
Some of those ideas actually reduce the school day. There are reductions in academic time for kids. I don't think that would be acceptable to the community, that we're actually shortening the school day. That's why that was
I agree
very
100%
extreme.
with you, but again, discussing it the second week of school, I expect for the money that the taxpayers saw we are paying people in this district, that we're burning the midnight oil. When I come by here at midnight on an emergency, maybe somebody should be here burning the midnight. And please don't take it the wrong way, because I know you have been working hard, but, parents are knocking on board members' door crying, where's my kid? So, hey, great, we got Blackboard, but that's one parent that had the cell phone in the hand and had everything, and so maybe there might have been a glitch, and maybe by that so-called trial run or that rough-in inspection, as I call it, maybe a rough-in inspection or two. Did everyone get the Blackboard message on August 25th, 26th, and 27th? If you might have got 50% of the people say, no, we didn't get it. Well, then we were prepared come that Thursday for that. That's all. And again, it's very easy for me to sit up here and say that. But my line of work, I get paid to fix things, and I can't eat if I don't fix it. So there is no excuse. And again, you know me, Mike. You know where I'm coming from with this, because I want you to be successful and have the tools. But I need to know that we're giving you the tools, and if we haven't, then I failed, okay? That's the thing. The public put me in here, my fellow board members put me up here to lead. Did I fail the transportation department, the security department, the cafeteria? It's not just transportation. You know where I'm coming from here. I need to know, Scott, I'm sorry, I've been saying it for 2 weeks, but it didn't happen. All right, because then I'm going to find out who you've been saying it to and why didn't it happen. You understand? And I know there's the chain of command, but the chain of command, sometimes, unfortunately, you got to abandon the chain of command when parents are as worried as they are. Period, end on that. The last thing I have, I respect seeing what Philadelphia, Glassboro, Toms River, and Massachusetts are doing, but it is all, again, that's trial and error stuff to accommodate a situation that might be fixed in October. So, I mean, that's what I look at there. School registration I talked about, and when I look at the pie chart, again, I really care about Vineland Public Schools in the pie chart. So when you can say all my Vineland Public Schools are, I'm okay fielding a complaint from CC Tech or a charter school that my child didn't get home properly. But crazy enough, I didn't get one phone call from any of those entities. That bothers me. That's all. You know where I'm coming from. So that's pretty much all I have. Not that I didn't want to go over my 5-minute time limit, but if any board member has anything else for Mr. Hall, I tried to cover as much as I could as a group because the board members did contact me. And I think the key thing is tell your people. I thank them and I praise them when they do good, and I think they did the best they could do for what the cards they were dealt. But my job is to say, how can I make it better? And how can I give Mr. Hall and Ms. Ferrari the tools to make it better? But I can't guess, so that's why maybe, I know we had a transportation meeting. I got to tell you, I looked at the minutes, and I know Mr. DeSanto likes our minutes to be, kind of brief, but I thought those minutes should have been at least 12 pages long because there should have been some thorough discussion. Unfortunately, I had a doctor's appointment. I couldn't have been there. But I think transportation might need to meet weekly until we have some concrete plans. And then I'd like to have another presentation in October to see where we've progressed from now. I don't think that's unreasonable. Do my fellow board members agree?
Agreed.
Agreed? All righty, then I am done with the transportation piece of the meeting. Mr. Hall, thank you. Ms. Ferrari, I see you're there. Thank you. Appreciated. Do I have any other committee reports this evening? Seeing none. Do I have any reports from my board solicitor to the right of me, Mr. DeSanto?
None.
Thank you very much. Do I have any public comment on items from the agenda or any other matter? As always, remember you are limited to 5 minutes at the podium. I don't like people getting their feelings hurt when I chime in at 4 minutes and 30 seconds, but it's been the rule for years here. It continues to be. We have a process where there's a yellow sheet that everyone fills out, and when they fill the yellow sheet out, it's handed to Ms. Leary up here. She, in turn, will call up each individual person, and we will address it accordingly. Please don't get upset. Some people like me to exchange in dialogue, but again, I need to remind the public that this is a session where we listen. Under Robert's rules, we do not engage ourselves in any type of conversation. This is stuff that we take in our superintendent digests it, we have conversation, and we see where we need to go from there. So at this time, Ms. Leary, do I have anyone that would like to address the public at the podium, please?
Yes, first we have Ms. Sandra Struthers, is that right? From the New Jersey Chamber Foundation. The topic will be the MOU for the JAG program at Vineland High School.
Thank you.
Thank you, and good evening to members of the board and community. My name is Dr. Sandra Struthers. I'm the Executive Director, and I represent the New Jersey Chamber of Commerce Foundation, here to provide a brief overview of the Jobs for America's Graduates Program. I'm presenting this information tonight as it relates to the Memorandum of Understanding between the New Jersey Chamber of Commerce Foundation and Vineland Public Schools, indicated on item 4.4 of the agenda. Jobs for America's Graduates New Jersey is a program dedicated to assisting and transforming the futures of students with the greatest need. The students and youth that we work with each year have some or more of the following demographics: low income, history of chronic absenteeism, in jeopardy of obtaining their high school diploma, at risk of dropping out, those who need additional employment, career coaching, and training for a better life after graduation. The goal of the program is to keep students in school so that they obtain their diploma, teach job and career-ready skills that allow them to sustain employment, resulting in an enhanced quality of life after high school. The program includes a class focused on employability skills, some which include resume writing, interviewing, and job searching, and co-curricular life skills that are focused on but not limited to individual and team leadership, public speaking, presentations, use of technology in professional settings, time management, healthy self-concept, and financial literacy. JAG is a high-quality program that includes standards for effective implementation. There are 10 standards called model components, which every program must meet in order to maintain the program. Standards directly related to the JAG teacher are annual outcomes, participant selection, career association, employability skills attainment, employer engagement partnerships, 12 months of follow-up services for recent JAG graduates, and daily data entry to monitor program implementation and outcomes. Vineland's JAG program has been successful over the past 6 years because of the time, attention, instruction, coaching, mentoring, and comprehensive supports required of the program model and the items listed in the current and past MOUs. Our goal is to obtain our commitment and maintain our commitment to Vineland students through JAG. All aspects of the program just mentioned, along with several other requirements, allow us to stay in compliance with the program. The addition of another class does not reduce the level of accountability or deliverables required for the program. I have a couple of handouts, if I may give those to the board. One is the JAG model components. That's from our national program. The other, you'll see our JAG core competencies to give you some insight into the extensive nature of the program and the comprehensive supports that we provide. This concludes my comments this evening.
Thank you.
Next, we have Donna Custard, excuse me, will be speaking on agenda item 4.4 from the New Jersey Chamber of Commerce Foundation.
Good evening. I'm here in my capacity as the president of the New Jersey Chamber of Commerce Foundation, the organization that manages and runs the Jobs for America's Graduates New Jersey program. I'm here with Dr. Struthers to address, as you mentioned, agenda item 4.4, which is the Memorandum of Understanding and subsequent addendum that is up for discussion this evening. We're here to inform the board that on August 11th, Dr. Struthers and I were contacted by the Vineland High School principal to attend a Zoom meeting regarding the JAG program. On August 18th, we met with Nathan Fry, Principal DeMarchi, Mr. Headley, and Superintendent Yano to discuss some of the challenges the district is facing with the shortage of teachers, an increase in student enrollment, and the need to have the JAG specialist teach one class of entrepreneurship because the specialist is certified in this area and the course is a graduation requirement. We were asked for some flexibility in the MOU that was signed by Board President on April 15th. We crafted the addendum that you have before you. If you do not have it, we have additional copies that my colleague may hand out to you. We want to ensure that the board understands that the addendum is for 1 year only, and that no additional changes may be made to the MOU. In this addendum, you will notice that there is a maximum of 24 students to be assigned to the entrepreneurship class. You have heard from Dr. Struthers, and you have before you substantial information regarding the depth and breadth of the JAG program, because we know what works. It's important that the district find another teacher for the entrepreneurship class in the 22-23 academic year, and that no additional assignments are given to the JAG specialist. Furthermore, it is imperative for the board to understand that the only way the JAG program can be effective and transformational for young adults of great promise is for all components outlined by Dr. Struthers to be implemented. As she mentioned, the program has been in place at Vineland High School for the past 6 academic years with outstanding results. We have a document that I'd like for you to take a look at that shows the results over the past 6 academic years with a comparison to Vineland High School's adjusted cohorts. If you look at this data, you will see, as you're passing it out.
Please remember, we have a time limit.
Yep.
Should they be passing it
I
out?
will be brief.
Is it okay?
The JAG students that are carried in the program are typically more than double the rate of special education students that the district carries, and a significantly higher number of economically disadvantaged students that participate in the program. And you will see that over the past 5 graduating classes, the JAG students have outgraduated Vineland High School's adjusted cohort students. The bottom line is the program works as long as it's implemented with fidelity. Across the country, Jobs for America's Graduates has been addressing learning loss and helping transform the lives of youth of great promise for more than 40 years. The need is more important than ever. Dr. Struthers and I are at your disposal to answer any questions that you might have regarding the program, the Memorandum of Understanding, or the addendum. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Next, we have Edward Patton. The topic will be child unattended, wrong emergency information via text.
Good evening, board and attendees. I'll try and be quick. A situation took place today, and it was suggested I address my concerns with Mr. Hall here this evening in front of the board. Before I go into details about what happened today, the plans to address the transportation issues, as far as I'm concerned, are not plans at all. I didn't hear anything concrete. I didn't hear anything substantial. We're at day 5, and already there are significant problems. I'm speaking as a parent, obviously. My name is Edward Patton. I apologize. My daughter attends Marie Durand School. She's a kindergartner. The first question I have, and it is a question I understand the board may not be able to answer questions, but Mr. Hall, what is the policy for a 5-year-old kindergartner to be left off at a bus stop? Could Mr. Hall please address that as a question and answer it?
We cannot address members, no one from
No
Central
one can?
Administration as
That's
well,
fine.
but we will have
I'll make
them.
sure I get the solicitor's name and number before I leave.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I will just go over what transpired today, because some of this was already brought up in some of the things that were going on. I don't know if anybody heard me saying here. At 3:08 p.m. today, I received a text that the bus would be 30 to 45 minutes late for Marie Durand. At 3:58 p.m., I received another text that said the approximate release time for all students at Marie Durand would be 5 p.m. No further explanation. Me and my wife jumped in the car. We drove to Marie Durand. After 15 minutes, we were finally seen by an attendant, and after waiting in a long line and having to go around the back of the school, No explanation still. At 4:29 p.m., the attendant said all the buses had already been dismissed. And I said, I don't understand. The text I received said that students would not be released until approximately 5 p.m. So now, I'm in panic mode. Where's my daughter? She's 5. She's on her 5th day of school. I call my stepson. He's out riding his bike in the neighborhood. I tell him, go to the bus stop. Look for your sister. We start driving back to the house. Now it's 4:31 p.m. and our neighbor calls us. Says that she has our daughter and she's crying, completely distraught. Apparently, the bus driver let our daughter off the bus at age 5 without a parent or guardian or anybody present to take her home. I find this to be completely unacceptable. All the transportation issues that you guys discussed this evening are real and present. We see it in other districts. I saw the National Guard in the news. That's not an excuse. Start school late, make more people drive to school, let the parents know there are going to be problems. The communication with the Z-Pass last year used to work. How could a policy and something not be in place for this year is ridiculous. I heard some other board members say that there was plenty of time to get this done. There was plenty of time to get any of these things done. I'm a capable manager, okay? Maybe there needs to be a change. That's my public opinion. And I wanted to express it to the board here this evening. I'm extremely frustrated to lose my 5-year-old daughter and not be able to find where she was. I called the transportation office and they told me to come here tonight to make my concerns known to the board. I bet there were 100 other parents that if they had enough time would be here doing the same tonight. I want to thank you for listening, and I hope you all have a good evening.
Thank you for speaking, and on behalf of the Board of Education, I apologize.
Next up, we have Nicole McBride. The topic will be COVID virtual school postponements.
Good evening. My name is Nicole McBride. I actually spoke at the last board meeting. I have 3 children in the Vineland Public Schools, AMSA, Wallace, and at the high school. I am going to add something about the transportation. I am a home child care provider, and I had an elementary school student the first day not get picked up till 10:15 for school. School starts at 9:15. The parent was not alerted. When I called the Board of Education Transportation, I was 43 in line, stayed on hold for 35 minutes. I got to the zero ahead of you and got an error message saying call back. I had a call saying I had a lost child to get anybody on the phone. And they said I had to tell them where the bus stop was at, how to get there. They had no idea. They still have not corrected the problem. She does not get picked up in the morning. School starts at 9:10. She doesn't get picked up till 9:10. So I'm not, and again, this is a child that has an IEP. So again, they're learning a little bit differently. They need all the instruction. So that means they're getting their breakfast. That means even later delay. And that parent is expecting them to have breakfast once they get to school. She gets dropped off at my home. They get out at 3:30. She doesn't get dropped off until 4:30. So that's almost an hour delay. So bus 95 must be one of those buses where there's a shortage of drivers, because again, that's an elementary school child not getting to school, getting all of their education like they're supposed to. Again, I have 3 other children. They're getting picked up. Their buses are coming on time but there are some children that are not getting home till 5. But again, 4:30 and not getting picked up till when school starts, that's unacceptable for children supposed to be getting a full day of education. I didn't see anything on the agenda about COVID at all. And I think since we do have a global health issue, that should be on the agenda every meeting about where our schools are sitting at. I know we do have it on the Vineland Public School website, but again, I know a lot of parents aren't even aware that that is even on the website. When I have been alert, I got an alert actually before school even started, maybe that Tuesday, that there was already a COVID case in the Vineland Public Schools, And then have gotten 2 texts and 1 email saying Wallace Public School has some COVID cases. When I look on the website, Wallace Public Schools, there's been, again, my son goes there, and there's been 12 cases, which is the most out of all those public schools in Vineland that has the most cases, and I've only got 1 alert. Again, I think this is very important. When I called the school to find out were there any additional mitigations being done, they said no. There's nothing else being done. They're just doing what they've been doing, and I don't think that's the way we should be dealing with a global pandemic problem. If there's, again, with the last meeting, they said if there were going to be some COVID cases, that they will be doing additional cleaning. And actually, when I spoke to my son's guidance teacher, because my son does have an IEP, the guidance teacher wasn't even aware that there were 12 reported cases. Again, he works at the school. So if the teachers and the staff, because again, once the children are in the school and the teachers, they may become a little bit lackadaisical. So to make them a little bit, making sure that they're being proactive, keeping their mask on, and making sure the students are doing, we need to let them know so they can continue to make sure that our children are safe. Like I reported at the last meeting, my children, in my household, I do home child care. No one has come down with the COVID. My children have been safe. They were virtual all last year, and I expect them to come home the same way that I send them, COVID-free. So I need to make sure that the school is doing all that they can, and again, being proactive and letting children and parents know, listen, someone in the class, even I don't care if they had a mask on, that you may want to get your child tested, because this affects my bread and butter, my business. If there's a child or my children are exposed, then my home has to shut down. And I know the school board's not prepared to pay my bills. So I need to make sure that my children and my child care children come home the way that they were sent. Another thing that I have a problem with, they did sat in the meeting last week and they took a vote to extend school 2 days later. When we sat here and they were upset that the governor last minute put some mitigations in for COVID, making sure that the teachers were vaccinated and the students were masked. But we can take a 2-week vote, 2 weeks before school, and take a vote and delay school. No problem with that. But we had a problem with the governor saying be vaccinated and wear masks. I'm glad to see everyone has masks on, because the last meeting, they allowed people to sit here with no mask. And we know that if parents and teachers are not modeling the behavior, neither will the children. So I'm glad to see that everyone is wearing a mask this evening. And as a parent, I think that we need to make sure that, again, myself as a parent, that we need to be making sure, I feel we need to be informed about what is going on with the COVID, with our children being safe, and I would like more information to be given out besides just, I have to go check a website. You know, we are busy during the day, and like I said, a lot of parents that I let know, the children that I have, 2 other kids to get on and off the bus, those parents had no idea that they had any cases at their schools at all. So thank you so much, and I will continue to be visiting the meetings.
Thank you, Ms. McBride. And again, I once again want to extend our apologies on behalf of the board for the unfortunate situations you exhibited the past few days. I know it's not what you want to hear, but I do apologize, and I will do my best to make sure things are better. Everyone else this evening.
Yes, we do. Next up, William Turner. The topic will be transportation.
Good evening to the board and the community. I would like to address the topic of transportation. I was one of the parents, stand before you as a proud parent.
Excuse me, can you just move the microphone so I can hear, please? Thank you, I'm sorry, you're a tall man.
Yeah, all right, maybe I can scoot down a little bit, how about that? I'm one of the parents whose child was missing for a while. My wife discovered that she was not dropped off where she was supposed to be dropped off. For 30 minutes, we did not know where our child was. We didn't have answers from Vineland Public Schools. We didn't have answers from the person who she was supposed to be dropped off with. It ended up turning better as that parent. I know there's hundreds of people who may not have time. I have time. I made time tonight to make you aware that this is a huge issue. I'm encouraged tonight that this was a topic, that you did discuss it, that there was passion. So I'm encouraged that this was even on the agenda, something that was talked about. So I'm encouraged in that regard. I'm encouraged that Mr. Hall did make the attempt to accommodate parents. I think we probably need to take a look at, what we're, if we can't follow through on what we're putting out there, maybe we can take another look at that. I'm coming definitely for solution-based, and also just to let you know that I don't want any other parents to go through what we went through on September the 9th. Also, you talked about customer service, which again, you are, Mr. President, spot on with everything tonight. I think we did not get all of the customer service as a parent that we should maybe have received. This happened on the first day of school. We were afforded a meeting today before this meeting to get resolution. The two ladies that we met with, Ms. Sneven and Ms. Lovasone, did their very best. We did receive an apology today. We were still waiting to meet with Mr. Hall, who seems very busy during these times. So the Z-Pass, I wanted to address that. When I was raised, we were taught, don't quit a job until you have a job. So right now, the Z-Pass, without that Z-Pass, we are essentially telling the parents of Vineland Public Schools, there is no communication for you if your child is missing. And as a parent, that cannot be the answer, especially tonight. So if the answer tonight is wait till November, that cannot be the answer. As a parent, that can't be. That does not increase my confidence in the Vineland Public School District. It raises more concerns. I don't think Mr. Hall can do it all by himself. I think there's got to be a team effort, a collaborative effort, and there's got to be support from the community. If I don't want to go on Facebook and fill this auditorium up with parents from all over Vineland. I would rather come here respectfully, talk respectfully, and bring some resolution to the matter. People are willing to meet with us, and so I would rather go that route. My daughter was on the bus she was supposed to get to her route. She got on the bus around 3:47. She did not get back to Minnie's school until 5:22. She rode past our house. She was on a bus for over an hour, which should have took 5 minutes. Totally, totally unacceptable. In these times, we don't need to put our children through any unnecessary trauma with the trauma they've already experienced. And it's brought to my attention, it's not just my child, it's not just this young man who spoke, but there are many families in Vineland who are still experiencing this, who are going to experience this tomorrow and the next day. So this is a really huge issue that we need to address. The blackboard, that 30 minutes that I was totally anxious, no one knew where she was, that did not help me. I had no idea. I don't even know what that is. So I think we need to come up with some better solutions. I think more money should be spent on communication, because the communication with the transportation is terrible. During that time, the principal could not even reach the transportation. So I don't know what the answer is, but I'm willing to stand here as someone willing to stand with the Vineland Public Schools to come up with solutions, because I'm upset, I'm disappointed, but I'm encouraged that it's a topic and that there are plans in place, but there needs to be more urgency, because what we've heard tonight, wait till November, that just can't be the answer. So I don't want to come disrespectfully. I hope I haven't disrespected anyone, but as a parent and as a representative of other parents, we just need more urgency in fixing this transportation and fixing it as quickly as possible. Thank you for your time, and have a good night.
Thank you for addressing the board this evening. And again, I apologize on behalf of my colleagues for your unfortunate situation, and we will get this fixed. And thank you for the word collaborative. I like it. Thank you. Ms. Leary, do we have anyone else this evening?
No, we do not.
Okay. Moving along.
It's not on, because it's combined, it's not on the yellow sheets, it's on any.
Okay, okay. So, Ms. Miller, would you like to approach the podium? Welcome back.
Vicki Miller, Vineland, New Jersey. Today, as we were leaving school, at 5 o'clock, school ends at 3:50, children were being picked up. It's not right. It's not right. If we need new bus drivers or we have to go to Shepherd again, any money we spend is well worth it for our children. That's how I'm looking at it. And we can't wait till November. Are we going to wait for another lost child? Cedric Holmes was at my home when he got a phone call. He ran out looking at it. Should it be the school board members searching for our children? No. Nobody should be searching for any child, not alone a child that was missing on a bus. Swipes. I believe swipes are needed on the bus. Then the bus driver knows if a child is not on there. He should have a list. It worked last year. Why don't we have it this year? I know that we have a lot of problems in the district with COVID and stuff like that. But the most important are our children. I have no children in the school district. I have no grandchildren in the school district. The children in my school are all my children, and I worry about them. To see them leaving at 5 o'clock was not necessary. And the poor bus driver had another run after that. We don't have enough bus drivers, get some, and get them now.
Thank you, Ms. Miller. Do we have anyone else this evening that would like to speak at the podium? We do have someone. One more? Thank you. Take your time.
Hello, how are you? My name is Dana Blakely. My son is a senior at Vineland High School this year. He's graduating, last of the 7 that attended. I'm an actual bus driver for Vineland as well. I just want to address that as a bus driver and also as a parent, I see from both sides. The transportation, the dispatchers, Michael Hall, Ms. Fieri, they're trying. We are trying our best to get these kids home safely. Me, I'm sanitizing in between my runs, trying to get to 3 schools on time to get every kid to school safely and on time. I have covered runs, taking kids home, encountered upset parents and try to explain to them situations. It's a shortage. I also, when I'm done my run, which is probably 5 o'clock, I start sanitizing 140 buses every night. I go home to my family 8:30 at night, every night. So we are working very, very, very hard to try to make ends meet for our kids to get around safely. We have so many bus drivers. I brought bus drivers in that didn't have their CDL. I encourage my friends, come in, get your CDL. You'll love it. They did it. They came in. We're trying. They're encouraging other people. If the word get out and how good and how positive, instead of making us look like we just not doing anything, I think it'd be a better asset for all of us. And it's just to sit back and just hear a lot of negatives about the bus drivers, and nobody actually knows what we're going through on that and behind that seat. When those kids get on the bus in the morning, we have to greet them, take attendance, have seating charts, clean that bus when they get off, Make sure they have a mask. Some kids come to the bus stop, don't have masks. The parents is looking at you like, oh, well, give them a mask. It's a lot that is entailed when you have to have 54 kids get on your bus at one stop. I stop at one stop and I have 46 kids get on my bus at a time, and I have to take attendance and make sure each one of those kids is in the proper seat. Then get off in the morning, turn that attendance sheets in because they need it for contact tracing. And then try to get to that next school and do the same thing over and over again. So just please continue to try to work with transportation, continue to work with us, the parents, the community, work with us and understand what we're doing. Because it's not just a layup for us. This is hard, and like you said earlier, I'm watching you while I'm sanitizing. I'm watching you. I'm opening doors and locking doors for my other colleagues so they can get on and sanitize. And I'm watching, I'm hearing you, and I heard you say that it's, I can't even get the right wording for you, but it was upsetting to say, hear people say, oh, the bus drivers are not doing this and they're not communicating, but we're trying our hardest. So just please just try to have some type of compassion for transportation, period, and understand like what we're actually going through. That's all I really have to say. And I appreciate everything and the understanding, but I really had to get it off my chest because it was bothering me to hear people say that we're not doing the right thing, and we're trying our best. So that's all.
Thank you, Ms. Blakely.
Thank you.
I've often said that it's the people in the trenches that will tell you exactly what's happening. So I thank you for having the courage to come up there and represent your bus drivers. I do have a lot of bus drivers that are customers of mine, and they've come up with some great ideas. So maybe it's time to have one of those meetings where we see what the people in the trenches are experiencing, because they know firsthand what can be better if maybe we tweak it a little bit. So again, thank you for having the courage to come up to the podium and speak. Thank you. Do we have anyone else this evening? Rossini, do we have anybody else out there? Okay, thank you. We have motions and resolutions by our superintendent, Yano. Motions, resolutions, sir.
Discussion regarding personnel items, as noted here for personnel, 1.1 through 1.3. 1.1, approval of retirements, resignations, terminations, students, substitutes, extracurricular activities, and extracurricular summer activities. 1.2 is approving a hourly rate, pay rate, retroactive to September 9th for cafeteria playground aides, $15 per hour. 1.3, approval regarding a salary increment withholding for an employee whose name is on file with the board secretary effective September 1st, 2022.
Do I have any questions or comments from board members?
I have a quick comment. I was looking at retirements, and I noticed that we have 7 people retiring, district employees retiring, and I added up the years. It's 145 years of district service. So I appreciate them so much, and I thank them for their dedication. And one was 31 years, one was 25 years, I think one was 21, 19. I mean, they were all, a long time. So I just wanted to point that out to people. 7 years, 7 employees and 145 years. So I think that's good. So I just, real quick, I wanted to say that.
Thank you, and I totally agree. There are a lot of dedicated people in the district, so it's good to point out the positives as well when it seems like we're only talking about some negative things. I do have a quick question, and it's probably for Dr. Rossi. I saw that we have the playground aid on here, but my question, you just answer real quick, it's a number, that's all. What are we currently offering bus drivers per hour?
Paul and Ms. Damari Ferrari have developed. So basically, long story short, it's based on experience in driving. So coming in as a new bus driver, I think we've posted somewhere around 23 an hour now, depending on experience, and that's how we calculate it. We have the ongoing problem of people who have been here for years who aren't making that money, so there's a philosophical discussion about benefits, single coverage versus family coverage, which is a recent contract change from 2 years ago, 3 years ago. So there are, as always, many issues to discuss, but it is in the area of 23, and there is a formula based on experience.
So we're looking at 23 plus a benefit package for family or single?
The people that are with us prior to the last contract were grandfathered at family. New hires in the last couple of years are single coverage with a higher hourly rate.
Okay.
And the PERS is a, Mr. Yano and I have already discussed this. We expect people may look at their future, as we all should, about pension. But it seems, though, based on some of the departures, the current dollar speaks, for whatever reason, more than the long-term benefits of being at a public institution.
Okay, thank you for that information,
President?
and appreciate it.
Scott, Joe, how about our rate versus neighboring districts? Are we competitive, or are we losing people to other districts?
If you ask a biased personnel director, our package is superior. The number on the paycheck may be a little higher right now in other areas. I've seen signs at $27 an hour and higher at a competitor, but when you look at quality of life, when you look at vacation, you look at sick, you look at pension, benefits, family person has those things, those seem much more valuable to me, but everyone has a different perspective, I imagine.
How about a new driver coming into the district now versus someone who's been here for a long while? How are the...
Yeah, I've had discussions, I think Mr. English noted correctly, we do have a very good communication relationship with the United Auto Workers. The UAW leadership is aware of this, we are aware of this, we'll be negotiating in the coming year. There are some people still in the high teens who have been, per hour, who have been here. Now they do have a package, they have a significant, what I would consider a decent vacation package for a 10-month employee due to civil service membership. And there are other benefits attached to that, but they are not highly paid hourly. They have the benefits package, as we mentioned, which is very valuable.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Rossi.
Approval, requesting approval regarding personnel items 1.1 through 1.3.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please, Ms. Leary.
Ms. Acosta?
Yes.
Mrs. Cataspati? Mr. Fiocchi?
Yes.
Mr. Holmes?
Yes.
Mr. Rivera?
Yes.
Mrs. Sabrana?
Yes, all, but I abstain on item number 10 under short-term teacher contracts.
Thank you. Mr. Silva?
Yes.
Ms. Spinelli?
Yes.
Mr. English?
Yes, and congratulations to our retirees. After 180 days, I believe you come and apply to be a bus driver. We could use you. Get that CDL license, so look forward to seeing you back here.
Requesting discussion regarding procedure and operations for the following items, 2.1 and 2.2. 2.1 is to approve the second reading of Policy 8561, Operation Procedures for School Nutrition Programs, mandated changes, and 2.2, which is approval for the first reading of the following policies, and they are listed on page 2 and 3 of the agenda. It's quite a long list of policies.
Do you have any questions or comments? Just a quick comment. I sat through our policy personnel meeting, and I just want to thank Dr. Sneed. And there's a lot of policy changes going on there, and you keep us updated. I know, hey, it's not easy, and I know we question a lot, but policies are what drive the district, and I thank you for putting the time in to get us straight with that stuff. So I thank you for that. Any other questions or comments by board members?
Okay. Approval regarding procedures and operations, 2.1 through 2.2.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Ms. Acosta?
Yes.
Mrs. Kataspati.
Yes.
Mr. Fiocchi.
Yes.
Mr. Holmes.
Yes.
Mr. Rivera.
Yes.
Mrs. Sabrana.
Yes.
Mr. Silva.
Yes.
Ms. Spinelli.
Yes.
Mr. English.
Yes.
Discussion regarding building and grounds items 3.1. 3.1. Approval regarding the submission of 6 projects for the Vineland Public Schools for both schematic and final approval, with the district not seeking additional funding beyond the ESSER funds for the projects as listed at Menny's School, Marie Durand, Cunningham, John Winslow, Johnstone, and Barcy, all being HVAC system replacement projects.
Do you have any questions or comments? Just a quick comment to all who are involved in this process, because again, when we look at that long-range facility plan, there's some things in there that are getting attacked that have been there for a long time. And I know it goes from finance, it goes to Mr. Salerno, I know it goes, you've been here for, it seems like forever, Paul. I mean, just again, thank you. It's good to see things get to this stage of our agenda. So definitely appreciated. The taxpayers know their taxes are going to good things, so definitely much appreciated, and thank you for your time on these projects.
Questions or comments?
Any other questions or comments?
No.
Approval regarding buildings and grounds item 3.1.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please, Ms. Leary.
Ms. Acosta.
Yes.
Mrs. Kataspati.
Yes.
Mr. Fiocchi.
Yes.
Mr. Holmes.
Yes.
Mr. Rivera.
Yes.
Mr. Sabrana.
Yes.
Mr. Silva.
Yes.
Ms. Spinelli.
Yes.
Mr. English.
Yes. And thanks again.
Discussion regarding finance items 4.1 through 4.15. 4.1, budgetary transfers for general, school-based, and ECPA for June 2021 and July 2021. 4.2, approval of the following reports: June 2021 Board Secretary and Treasurer, July 2021 Board Secretary and Treasurer. 4.3, approval to accept the following funding: Southern Coastal Regional Employee Benefits Fund Wellness Grant Program in an amount of $30,000. 4.4, approval regarding the addendum to the Memorandum of Understanding between the JAG program and Vineland Public Schools for the 2021-2022 school year, beginning September 1st, 2021 through August 31st, 2022, subject to a form of addendum acceptable to the superintendent and board solicitor. 4.5, approval regarding the tuition contracts between the City of Vineland Board of Education and Cumberland County Technical Education Center, CC Tech, for the 2021-2022 school year, in a form of contract acceptable to the superintendent and the board solicitor. 4.6, approval regarding the professional services purchase in the amount of $6,000 for staff development workshops for mathematics on November 2nd, 2021. 4.7, approval regarding the memorandum of understanding between Rowan University and Vineland Public Schools, the Palo Alto Elementary School for 2021-2022 school year. 4.8, approval regarding the service agreement between the City of Vineland Board of Ed and educational-based services for therapist services at a rate of $79 to $85 per hour, for the 2021-22 school year. 4.9, approval regarding the 2021-2022 professional services agreement between Burlington County Special Services School District and Vineland Public Schools for July 1st, 2021 through June 30th, 2022 in a form of contract acceptable to the superintendent and the board solicitor. 4.10, approval regarding the 2-year renewal of prescription program with RX Alliance PEBT Benecard effective July 1, 2020 through June 30th, 2022 with the 0% increase in premiums. 4.11, approval regarding the renewal of a commercial inland marine policies with Liberty Mutual West American through Beyond the Insurance with total premiums of $27,970.81 effective July 26, 2021 through July 26, 2022. Commercial property premium of $26,994, terrorism premium $810, New Jersey Guarantee Fund premium $166.81. 4.12, Approval regarding the 2021-2022 professional services agreement between White Glove Community Care and Vineland Public Schools in a form of a contract acceptable to the superintendent and the board solicitor. 4.13, approval of a resolution authorizing the business administrator authorized to initiate and complete the competitive contracting process for an energy service company, ESCO, to evaluate energy efficiency resources throughout the district. 4.14, approval regarding bus advertisement renewals for the following: Rowan College of South Jersey Cumberland campus for a 12-month term from August 23rd through August 22nd of 2022. 4.15, approval regarding the following Cumberland County Regional Cooperative Transportation Initiatives as noted in A, B, and C. And that's it for finance.
Well, that's a mouthful there. Take some water. Do I have any questions or comments with finance items 4.1 to 4.15?
I do have a question in regards to
Mr. Silva.
4.4, the addendum regarding the memorandum of understanding for the JAG program. What has changed in the past that we need to use the teacher to teach the class? Have we offered that class before?
The course that's being offered this year, I'm not sure if it was offered last year, I don't exactly have that in front of me, but what is needed this year, there is a group of students who require the entrepreneurship course. They've selected it, the high school team scheduled it, and they worked with the teacher, I'm not sure of his name, who has the right certification in that department to provide those services. We had to work with JAG to develop a mutually acceptable agreement so that we could have those services provided to students. If we're not able to provide those services, those students would not receive the class that they selected, and they'd have to be dispersed into other programs and courses.
Now, is there any other teachers that can teach that specific class?
Not that I'm aware of, with the right certification.
So this class was planned, and there's a curriculum that's being followed, there are books, programs?
Absolutely.
Everything?
Yes. Unless, yes, the JAG has its own independent curriculum and also entrepreneurship.
The entrepreneurship.
Yes.
Is there like books or a program for that class?
I'm not sure if there's a physical book. It might be an online material. I don't know exactly what the course, what the program looks like.
So the memorandum of understanding, I don't have a copy in front of me. I don't know what it specifically states in order for this program to be implemented with Fidelity. Is there some type of, the teacher cannot teach certain classes, or it needs to dedicate their entire time for this program to work with Fidelity? I don't know who can answer that.
Just give me a second to read. I originally signed, and I believe Mr. Marchi signed this as well. I've got page 3 of 6. It clearly states the JAG specialist should be dedicated 100% to the JAG program and should not be responsible for teaching additional academic classes, bus/cafeteria duty, or other similar activities. We seem to have a snag here on the word should. Mr. Fry has interpreted it as he can teach everything. When it comes to something like that, I always go to my legal counsel to give me his opinion on that, because in the end, when the lawsuit comes, with all due respect, I know Mr. Fry does not have the law degree, and Mr. DeSanto, can you explain what your interpretation of that was?
Back on June 21st of 2021, I was asked about that particular section, that particular provision, and my comment was, although the word should may be open to interpretation, it appears that the clear intent of the provision is to exclude the jazz specialist from extra duties. In other words, the word should was intended to mean shall. There's a rule of law in the construction interpretation of statutes and contracts, and words are to be given their natural common meaning within the context. When I looked at the memorandum of understanding, that sentence was not only printed, it was underlined. And underline means emphasis. And when I saw the word should with emphasis, maybe it wasn't artfully written, but, you know, and I could be disagreed with. I appreciate that. I've been disagreed with a lot over the years. But I believe its intent was clear, that it was intended to be shall. Now, when this addendum came up, Mr. Yano asked me about it. And I had said that as long as this particular amendment addendum was acceptable to the board and to the vendor, that I didn't see anything wrong with having an amendment for 1 year to have the teacher teach another class. My problem with the amendment, and I explained that to Mr. Yano, and that's why it's subject to an agreement acceptable to us, is that there was no cap. The rate is the VEA rate that the teacher would get. So I suggested that if that teacher, let's just say hypothetically a period is 1 hour, if that teacher couldn't perform his or her duties during the school day outside of the building, then the cap should perhaps be whatever that 1 hour that is lost that now has to be done after school. So I just suggested to Mr. Yano that we have a cap in here so that the board wouldn't be writing a blank check. So it would be, you know, an additional class at the VEA rate not to exceed X dollars, and that is to be determined. So the long and the short of it is, I interpreted should to be shall, and if the board wanted to approve this, and it was acceptable to the vendor, which I have some doubts about after hearing tonight, then as long as that cap was inserted and I gave Mr. Yano the language, then I was fine with the addendum. But it's the board's vote on whether or not it's a good idea. I was just addressing the legal issue.
In the spirit of using the word upset, again, I'm upset because, again, school has started. Students, when they pick a elective, correct me if I'm wrong, this is how it used to be in 1983, you got 3 choices. A lot of times I didn't get my first choice, a lot of times I didn't get my second, so I got my third. In the grand scheme of it, it was an elective. I took it. I was happy. I'm understanding that this is, again, you have to understand, I signed a 3-year contract, and I'm a man of good integrity, and I interpreted this a certain way. This was, you had your discussion with Mr. Fry back in?
It was just an email.
Give me the, was it?
Yeah, it was in June of 2021.
We go July and August with no discussion about something like this. Now it's in front of me. I understand that this entrepreneurship, 24 kids are interested in taking it, but I also understand that, if I'm right, they also chose a second and third option. So if they were to get their second and third option, I don't have to worry about paying anything extra. The contract stays the way it is for the 3-year contract. And then if future boards want to take up and change the language of the contract, so be it. I'm reading it the way I'm reading it, and I find it hard to believe we can't find a teacher to teach entrepreneurship. And I understand you say in that specific area, but then I'm going to ask, well, do we have any other teachers in the district teaching out of their specific area, which I'm sure we do. So I'm just not so sure why we're so compelled to having this one class. Now, it's not 6 classes, not 5 classes, it's not 150 kids. The board's consistently made their point that we want to stay in the studio production business, which is an area we want to continue to have guidance push kids. Mr. Fry's heard us have this conversation a lot. So I'd gladly like to see 12 of those 24 possibly in that area. I I know that it's mixed between freshmen, sophomore, juniors, and seniors. Maybe the seniors aren't interested in that. But again, it's a contract that I signed in good faith, and now I see the addendum in front of me, and I was under the understanding that all parties agreed. And if indeed I have to sign this, I will gladly sign this at a future date when all parties get together in the same room and I'm away from the he said, she said, and the stack of emails I received today. So it bothers me when I heard good things from all sides, but nothing matched. So at that time, I need a common denominator, and the only way you get that is when all faces are in the same room together. So unfortunately, I would either ask for this to be tabled or put it to vote, see how it goes, but I like to have all the information. And maybe at that time, we could add, Mr. Mustarella or Mrs. Leary will have and answer exactly what additional cost this is going to be. And who knows, you might find, hey, we found a teacher that has a little flex in their schedule that can do it. If you need a little help, I got an idea. I think it can be done, but again, micromanaging versus non-micromanaging, I know where I have to draw the line there. So that's just my take on it. I don't know if any other board members have any questions or concerns on this, but it's just a very fine line, because personally, if you want to just take the JAG program and look at the JAG program, I talked to Mr. Iano today. I identified why it's so successful and what it does here, and it's got a lot to do with a building known as CC Tech that used to, when it was part-time, house a lot of those kids that are JAG-type students today, and those kids learned masonry, plumbing, electrical. They learned all that stuff, but now those poor kids can't even test to get in there. So that's a subject for another day, and I don't want to get Mr. DeSanto too nervous when I talk CC Tech. So at the end of the day, what I'm trying to say is it's extremely hard for me to just support a class that is only a class, if it's 24, if it's 30, when we have 2 or 3 alternate options for them. That's my opinion only. I know Ms. Acosta sits in with the curriculum often. I spoke with her a little bit about this, so I don't know if you have any input on that you would like to share with us, or you want to just keep going.
Well, I mean, I just feel that if the entrepreneur, I mean, first of all, I do think that an entrepreneurship class is a good class to take for students. I think it's very important, particularly when you have students that perhaps may be looking into starting their own little businesses. I think it's more common, and it's a good thing. I would like to see, if there is another qualified teacher that has the ability to teach that one class, if we're only talking that one class, so that we can, our JAG program is so successful, I'd hate to see the teacher preoccupied with having another class. So, I mean, if we can look into that, if that's a possibility, and maybe table this.
And again, I can answer that question right now. Of course, the leadership team at the high school looked to make sure that they wouldn't impact anyone or any of the program before going to this route. They need to do this based on their scheduling. There's challenges, as was stated earlier from the presentation. We met in what I thought was a collaborative conversation. We talked about partnership, and we left that meeting with understanding that there would be, we had to ask permission to come up with a arrangement, a memorandum of an addendum to the original agreement. That's what's on the agenda tonight. For a 1 year, we developed this plan to support this course, which is needed. Now, I'm hearing that there's some mountain of emails that happened. I wasn't involved in any of those that may have changed the dynamic, but what I heard from the presentation tonight is that they're in support of a 1 year addendum, and then at the end of this year, we have to rethink of the whole process. The entrepreneurship program is embedded in our course catalog. It's a 5-credit course for 10th, 11th, and 12th grade students. It's clearly been developed with curriculum, so it's not like it's some random course that we're throwing at kids. It's within our CTE programming, and it's very accurately detailed there. So I would hope that everyone understands that leadership team at the high school did do their due diligence. Some of the suggestions that were offered to us was, I would just have a sub teach that class. That's not appropriate for any child. We agreed that that's not the best way to go. Another option was, let's just sprinkle the kids into other programs. Well, those students selected entrepreneurship. Let's try to do our best for all kids, including these 24 students who selected this. Now, if it's not approved and we have to go back to the original memorandum, we'll come up with a plan B, but it'll be messy because schedules have already been struck, and we'll have to come up with something to make it better for the kids. So I would just ask you to consider that completely.
I mean,
Could I just, excuse me 1 second. And you said a key thing, Plan B here. I don't know that this ever made it to your committee for discussion, so if it would have made it to the committee, we would have known we could have had a possible issue, and then we could be presented with a Plan B. Again, trial and error does not work for Scott English, but if that's the way we're going to do things, then I need to rethink. But I believe that I wish we would have been aware of this when the process started, and maybe we never would have signed. I got to believe we were aware of this, or why did I sign a 3-year deal? We had to be aware of this. I don't want to sit here because we have 24 kids that have chose this as their first elective. If they didn't have any other choices, I believe it's a different animal we're talking about here. But they have other places to go. And then after year 3, I see your hand up, Ms. Cataspai, at the end of year 3 of the contract, then you rethink it. My fear is, let's just say, I'm gone in December. Let's just say the JAG program's gone as well. Because we now have 100 kids taking entrepreneurship, which you want every program to grow, but just like I want right now we've got and I think we've all been here to discuss this, we have a studio program that we want to grow, and now we throw another thing in the mix that steals kids from a possible program. I like to offer everything, but sometimes you have to think a little bit more in the box, not out of the box, in my opinion, especially when you don't have a teacher to teach the program, although I believe we do have someone, but again, if this contract didn't clearly state the way I'm interpreting it, that's my issue. So that's what I have, guys. Ms. Cataspai?
A couple of things. I agree with Mrs. Costa about it'd be great to have an entrepreneur program. Kids can learn how to grow a business. The JAG program is wonderful, has been wonderful. I understand we're mentoring, and people are going off of other schools are maybe going off of our program, so they're kind of, our program must have done something for other people wanting to do it. I have a problem with having a program developed, and again, you were walking into this, so not really directed to you, but we have a class that's developed that we have no teacher for. So why were kids allowed to pick this when we had no teacher for it, and it wasn't really there? And like Ms. Acosta said, I will agree. Our JAG program has been working great, but we take away an hour or whatever that time is from that teacher. This teacher has his motions, everything's set in motion. He knows what he's doing, he's guiding, he's doing what he's supposed to do. Now we're going to ask him to take an hour away from our JAG program, which has been doing great, 100%. I mean, that graduation rate is better than what our school was, our students, that in other classes. So I think my main problem is, why was this offered, the other program, and we didn't have any kind of, and now we're supposed to hurry up and fix it by taking away from another program when it's a successful program, as Mr. Silva said, Mr. Costa said.
I'm going to piggyback on something, just for the record. Who from the high school administration recommended this course? Can I have the names, please?
the Board of Education every year approves a course selection handbook. And entrepreneurship is an approved course in that handbook. Under CTE, all students to graduate have to have at least 5 credits in a CTE class. This happens to fulfill one of those requirements. So it's not the high school principal choosing to offer the course, it's the Board of Education that approved the complete course catalog that includes entrepreneurship as a CTE requirement on page 8, and then it lists the
Right.
graduation requirements, so it's
So
embedded here.
that was in addition to, or
No.
did that come from the state, or can you remove it? Do you need it?
It's my understanding you need the you need 5 credits.
That specific course.
Entrepreneurship, do you need
not-
that in there? Does it? Who,
No,
so
not
we approved it, okay?
The class was approved. I mean, this is not a particular track. It's not like the Visual and Performing Arts Academy. I mean, this is just, for example, Intro to Marketing could be a particular CTE class that would meet the requirement. So the student would actually pick, so say if you have students that are interested in business or maybe going into business, and they chose entrepreneurship as their CTE class. So it's just one class, not a course of study.
So I believe Mr. March is a bright woman, and I'm sure she said, you know what, this is a great class to have, but we don't have a teacher. I don't know, and again, we haven't had that discussion, so I don't know how we got to this point. And if we're hooked on the word should or shall, then at some point, I believe, this is a good housekeeping thing, I believe something like this that got to the committee level, because we as a board are governed by our committees. If we're going to choose to not bring things like, to me, this seems to be, it's pretty important, because I put my signature on a 3-year contract that we're trying to do an addendum for one class of 24 kids.
My concern right now is that we're already into the first week of school. I don't want to disrupt these students. It's really not fair to them. If we're talking, I think that the points are valid, and I think going forward after this year, you know, the agreement that we're looking at tonight specifically allows the teacher to, if he has to work extra hours after school for whatever reason, he will be able to do that and be compensated so that there is no negative impact. I'm assuming that's why it was done, so that there's no negative impact to the JAG program. You know, but going forward, I believe that we should, you know, try to keep that particular teacher, you know, basically his full responsibility should be the JAG program. And if we're going to offer other classes, we should have then teachers for those, you know, that are certified in those areas that can teach them. I would really hate to see these students, you know, logistically speaking, I don't know what period it is, I don't know what classes are available, how full I mean, and it's really unfair to the kids.
Just a quick question. Mr. Fry, is my understanding that yesterday the proposed teacher received his curriculum? That's the first time he received it, and he was told, the kids haven't been learning nothing for 3 days. I don't know if you're going to disrupt any students, because students are pretty resilient. When they don't get their gym class, they take another thing in the gym class. I mean, it's not like they have 2 or 3 choices that they can go to. I mean, is there a lesson plan up for this already? Can you show me on my computer that does this teacher have a lesson plan? Absolutely not. So you understand.
Do you want to address that? And while he's taking the microphone, Mr. Costa, what you were talking about is what we would call like a curriculum audit. You know, we have to look at our course catalog to see, you know, selection rates, what courses we can sunset, what courses do we need, if there's a greater need. That process will be led by Mr. Fry this year and the high school staff to make sure that we're aware of some trends and possibilities of movement. So that absolutely will occur. Mr. Fry, please.
Thank you. So, Mr. English, a couple questions in there. So the first question is, Has this course, is it a course in our curriculum guide? Is it something available to all teachers? Absolutely, it's available to all teachers. As soon as this teacher was assigned this course, immediately the curriculum was available to this teacher. So absolutely 100%, the curriculum was available to the teacher at any time during this assignment. And he was assigned this course pre-summer. So yes, it was available. The other question is, has the course been offered in the past? Absolutely, the course has been offered in the past, sometimes at 2 sections, sometimes at 1 section. Is there another teacher available to teach this course? I would need a little bit of time to look at the schedules to take a look at those. I'm assuming that there is not, but I don't have that information in front of me. So all these questions are up for discussion, but that's my understanding of it.
So while you're up there, any student, does every student get their first choice?
We try very hard at all costs to give every student their first choice.
Yes or no?
No.
Okay, so it wouldn't be, if we want to allow are we starting a new past practice by allowing every student to get their first choice?
The purpose of the district and the course scheduling is to give every student their first choice. Okay. Absolutely. Sometimes that's not possible because of conflicts in the different courses. There's many, many reasons why a student would not get his first choice, but we do our best to make sure that every student gets their first choice.
Why didn't we look for a teacher earlier, other than you felt that the word should meant he couldn't do it?
Well, there was a big discussion around the word should. I think we can talk about that in detail as well with my conversation with Mr. Santo and with Mr. Yano. But there's also class size issues that we're dealing with right now. So there's a class size stipulation on our courses in the high school. And this was one attempt to maximize all of our resources in the school to bring those class sizes down to an acceptable value for both state of New Jersey, VEA, union administration, students across the board. So there was many variables based on why this decision was made to offer this course. All the teachers that I know of have max schedules. If there's a teacher out there floating around, I don't do the master schedule, but I'm well aware of the master schedule. And if there's a teacher out there available, we would definitely look at that possibility. And we have looked at that. JAG has been on board with this from the beginning. Well, on board, I'm sorry, I apologize for that. They have been aware of our concerns. We met with them right away. We worked out a collaborative solution to the immediate problem. They were very cooperative with us. They made their point very well known that this program with Fidelity needs to be done in certain ways. We agree with the program. The JAG program is a wonderful program. All those components, this was a short-term solution to a more long-term goal of making this, continuing this program.
And I think my last thing is I'm going to ask you, because you are a Plan B person.
Most definitely.
Do you have a Plan B?
A Plan B for this course, there are many Plan Bs, yes. Yes, there are many. There are multiple Plan Bs. Multiple Plan Bs were discussed.
Okay, so we're not letting the kids hang out to dry. I get
no, we will not hang out.
They have a Plan B.
Out to dry.
They have a Plan B and C.
Perfect.
Okay. All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Does anyone else have any other questions this evening?
My only concern is that I just don't want to see a program that actually benefits one of our most vulnerable populations be like messed with, you know. So in order for that program to work with Fidelity, whatever the memorandum of understanding has to be followed to Fidelity. So I understand, and I don't want to take away from the kids that picked the entrepreneurship class. I'm here for the students. I'm here wholeheartedly for the students, but I don't want to see that we're going to rob Peter to pay Paul just for the sake of giving students a class for entrepreneurship. I mean, they can take business. There's a bunch of other CTE classes available at the high school, but for the plan for the last minute to put these kids in this classroom and having the JAG teacher teach the class, I felt that, you know, it should have been better planned, and I just don't want to see this program go away for one of our most vulnerable populations in our district.
Do I have any more questions or comments on this? Okay, seeing none. That was my questions and comments, and now it's your turn.
Approval regarding finance items 4.1 through 4.15.
Do I have a motion
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Ms. Acosta?
I'm going to vote yes.
Mrs. Cataspati?
I'm going to vote yes to everything, no to 4.4.
Thank you. Mr. Fiocchi?
Yes.
Mr. Holmes?
Yes to all, no to 4.4.
Thank you. Mr. Rivera?
Yes to all, no to 4.4.
Mr. Sabrana?
Yes.
Mr. Silva?
Yes to all, no to 4.4.
Ms. Spinelli?
Yes.
Mr. English?
Yes to all and no to 4.4. Does the motion carry?
5 noes on 4.4. Everything else carried.
Okay, concerning 4.4, to the understanding that we do have a Plan B in place, or we do not have a Plan B in place for tomorrow?
No.
Yes.
We have to change 24 schedules.
Yes.
So,
That's correct.
Because there is no other available teacher.
No, 24 students will have a schedule change tomorrow if we don't offer this section of entrepreneurship.
So you don't have this teacher? You're sure you don't have a teacher?
No, I'm
before
not
you-
sure that we don't have a teacher. That's the
I
question
asked
that's offered.
I asked that question of the high school staff, and I was told there is not, of course, there are teachers, but the properly certificated teacher to teach that course is not available. That's why.
Do we currently have any other teachers in the school district teaching a class they're not certified in? Yes
Not-
or no?
Not to my understanding, absolutely not.
Thank you.
You just need a business cert, right?
Yes.
Correct, yes.
There's no other business teacher at the high school?
There are multiple business teachers, and as I was sitting,
Fully
I was just
scheduled.
checking the schedules of other business teachers, and I did not find any with a study hall, with another component that had that access.
And that's because you're capping your classes at certain sizes?
We
or-
are definitely capping our classes at certain sizes, yes.
So did you look at all, what's the cap?
24 in high school.
And they're all full?
They are all, not, I'm not gonna say full, they are all at that cap. I did see a couple that maybe had one less kid in it, but again, I was looking at for teacher schedules for open. I kind of took that as what you were saying, Mr. English, that there was a teacher available, so that's where I was going into.
It's a big district, my friend.
Yep, I was looking at those teachers who were certified for CTE, and that's where I was going. But I don't see those, and if Mr. Yano asked that question earlier of the high school, I would tend to go with that also, that answer as well.
And earlier, I spoke with the superintendent about this today, and my fellow board members, and I guess the best thing in the future is, I think I'm asking the right questions, and if you're positive that there's not, then there's not. A decision was made tonight, and I guess we move forward, but I think in the future, a program with the size, Mr. Yano just showed me the entrepreneurship schedule. I thought we would have learned from the studio program, before you build the program, you find the right teacher, because that's the one that's going to sell your product, and you go from 20 kids to 200 kids. That's my opinion only. So just a little food for thought for future committee discussions. Okay? Do we have anything? I think that finishes that, correct? Thank you for all that. Now, we're to something on the agenda here, 10B, and I just want to check with Mr. DeSanto on this. Proposed items to review or discussion or adoption by board members. I usually ask to get that put on there, but I did not ask to have that put on there. Did you ask to have that put on there? Okay. This was something that was discussed concerning the bylaws, and I just want to clarify this with Dr. Sneeden. You sat in on our committee discussion, and when we discussed this bylaws, it was unanimous that we were fine with the way those two bylaws currently were, and we did want zero language change to that, so it never made it out of committee. I just wasn't sure why it was on the agenda this evening. But we're just approving the ones that were already approved in January at our reorganization meeting? Just for clarification for central administration for future, just, Mr. DeSanto, can you explain the bylaws? So
Yes. The bylaws that were approved each January is because as a new board sits, you must readopt your bylaws. The bylaws that were adopted in January didn't have any of this option language, so that's the one you have in place. What had happened was at a May or June or July agenda meeting, these two new bylaws that came from Strauss Esme were asked to be on. I asked that they be withdrawn because they were policy alerts. They weren't bylaws. You know what I mean? You had to select the option, as Dr. Seethan said. So that never saw the light of day. It went to committee, and as you say, I guess the committee said no change. So there's nothing really to come before you. The bylaw that was adopted in January remains, and the policy alert language, option 1 or 2, doesn't even apply because you're not changing your January approval.
So if indeed a board member ever has the idea that they would like to change a bylaw, it's in our bylaws how we go through that process,
Yeah.
what we do to get there. But the bylaws are governed by the board, and I'm not so sure why Strauss Esme ever got involved in looking at a bylaw.
Well, they do policies, regulations, and bylaws. It's a pretty comprehensive service, so that's not surprising that they
Okay.
do that.
And it's up to us if we
But
want to handle.
bylaws, as I mentioned before, are totally within the province of the board. Regulations are totally within the province of the superintendent, and policies can be both because he recommends and you discuss. But
Okay.
I think there was just a little bit of confusion on this because it started off as a policy alert, which is simply, as Dr. Sneeden said, here's what we suggest that you do, and you have to choose one of these options. Then, once you choose it in committee, then that gets typed in the bylaw format and then comes to the board. Well, you know, so that really never happened. So if the committee didn't want to make any changes, then there's no action that the board needs to take tonight or any night.
Okay, so case in point, 10B is a moot point this evening.
Yeah.
And thank you for this discussion during the committee. And again, we're governed by the committee structure. It never came out. Okay, at this time, do I have a motion to approve of bills that incurred during the month of June 2021 final and July 2021?
So moved.
Roll call, please.
Second?
Second. I'm hearing things.
Okay. Ms. Acosta?
Yes.
Mrs. Cottasbody?
Yes.
Mr. Fiocchi?
Yes.
Mr. Holmes?
Yes.
Mr. Rivera?
Yes.
Mr. Sabrana?
Yes.
Mr. Silva?
Yes.
Ms. Spinelli? Mr. English?
Yes. At this time, we have no emergent items for the board to discuss. Now we have 14 and 15, old or new business. Do any board members have any old or new business? Oh, you guys are going to love me because I have some old and new business. I know recently we approved a principal retirement for Winslow School, Mrs. Renee Braxton. I would like to know if we have any plan in place for posting and replacing, because I believe this is a mid-year hire, and like we don't like substitutes for teaching, I don't really like substitutes for running buildings. So with that being said, is there any plan in place for a smooth transition January 1? My concerns are, if indeed someone from our district happens to want to apply for that, then there's another vacancy, and then we start the domino effect, which we've experienced in years past. So I don't know if there's anything that's been put in motion, because September's here, and next thing you know, it'll be January 1, and I won't be on the board, but I don't want this board looking for someone dealing with a substitute for that building that really has a principal and no assistant principal currently. So I wanted to get that into the record, but hopefully there are some plans for that. If not, is that something that you have an answer for me now at this time, Superintendent?
As with all vacancies, we're working with the HR department to look at the timeline to make those type of decisions, so we'll make sure we are placing personnel appropriately within the time frame. So we know there could be a ripple effect if there is a promotion within, and Dr. Rossi and I are looking at all of our options, looking at the timeline that's ahead of us, so we'll have everything in order for a January opening, right, of this new school year at Winslow.
And we have, what do we currently have? We have an October board meeting, we have a November board meeting, we have a December board meeting. So we have 3 board meetings left, so that means we have 3 policy personnel meetings. Usually, that's a high-level position. We've always had good discussion with those high-level positions at our policy personnel meeting. So again, we're governed by our committee, so I hope we have that kind of discussion rather sooner than later. Okay? And I believe that's all I have this evening. So at this time, board member comments. I'll start with my right, the handsome Mr. Fiocchi.
Thank you.
You got it, buddy.
The only thing I ask is that the board members be kept in the loop regarding the transportation issues. Hopefully that by the end of this week we can have a resolution or at least a clear plan. And we heard tonight 3 specific issues that's just unacceptable and avoidable. I'm not a parent yet, but I can only imagine what those parents dealt with, not knowing where your child is. It's just unacceptable. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fiocchi. And to chime in on your comment there, you also chair the finance. So, I know firsthand if this is a financial issue, we can address this rather quickly as well. Be it for bus drivers, be it for we had talked about possibly guards at the high school at 7 o'clock, some type of stipends, incentives for bus drivers to maybe get that extra route. It's time to start thinking out of the box, but it all starts with this here, as we know, Mr. Mustarell. I know you don't like the reoccurring expenses and all that stuff, but at the same time, the public has clearly spoken this evening as well as the board. So thank you, Mr. Fiocchi. And if it's something we need an emergency finance meeting for, absolutely. Mr. Holmes.
Yes, there's so much to, I guess, touch on tonight. I'm just disgusted by some of the ways we're doing business right now. I had to walk out because listening to parents firsthand with their transportation issues, it's just embarrassing for me as a board member to listen to some of these complaints that are so easily avoidable just with communication. I mean, don't we know that we're making decisions up here for kids and they're affected by these decisions, just like the JAG program. We knew we didn't have a teacher. I don't know why they could sign up for it, and now you have to change schedules tomorrow, so be it. But that's what you have to do. Very disgusted. And transportation, we're going to keep abreast of these things every week. I don't know if we'll meet every week, but I'm going to ask for an email update for the next few weeks until November, and we have the app or whatever we're going to have started for November. But I think we need to have something else in place besides Blackboard from here until November. Obviously, Blackboard's not working. Maybe we need to go back to ZPass for the time being. But communication is key on all levels. And that's transportation, JAG, that's just the 2 hot button issues right now. Transportation is the biggest one because we cannot educate students without getting them to school. And running an hour behind, yeah, it's fine now because we're only doing preliminary stuff for the beginning of the year. But this kind of stuff just, that's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Holmes. Ms. Acosta.
Thank you, and I will echo my fellow board members' comments regarding transportation. I know, first of all, I want to say that I understand, I know that our transportation department is working hard to find solutions, and I believe that at this point we're open to all ideas and we discussed in the Transportation Committee, ways in which we can reach out to the community and see if we can find new drivers, et cetera. So it's not a quick, easy fix, but we have to do better informing our parents. And to those bus drivers that are out there working extra hours and trying to do their very best, I thank you. Thank you very much. But we have to be cognizant that we have little children. I'm fortunate enough that I've already passed the elementary school phase and my children are older, but even then, you worry as a parent no matter what, whether they're 5 or 15. So it's certainly concerning. And I did speak today with Ms. Leary regarding trying to see if we can share the information. I think Ms. Leary said she's going to put together a flyer sort of outlining the qualifications and the pay needed for bus drivers. I'm currently assigned to the Cumberland County Board of Social Services. I've spoken to my director who's going to share it with Workforce New Jersey. They're in the business of helping people find jobs. So this hopefully will be a good partnership if we can get that ball rolling and we can get enough interest in individuals that right now are actively searching. And with respect to our JAG program, again, I love our JAG program. I think it's wonderful. I feel very bad for the students. I know they have their heart set on taking a class and sort of being thrown into whatever class. But hopefully for next year, we can definitely look into, I don't know if it's a semester thing or if it's an entire year course, but if it is a year course, maybe we can look into developing that sort of business CTE and looking through our curriculum, the classes that we have, eliminating some classes that students really aren't taking, and then developing other classes that are going to lead to more 21st century jobs. But I want to thank everyone for your hard work, and good luck until next month.
Thank you, Ms. Acosta. Mrs. Codispoti.
I'd first like to thank Dr. Sneeden and Mr. Stanger and Mr. Hall for your presentations. Everything was very informative. Mr. Stanger, I am looking forward to reviewing that link. For some reason, I didn't get a link, so I couldn't look at it beforehand, and it was going really fast. So I would like to, look at that, the new history or social studies curriculum. To the parents that came and spoke tonight, thank you. I'm one of the ones also getting a lot of calls, inbox messages. It broke my heart to hear about students being left, especially the young ones. That's a disaster waiting to happen. We as a board take that very seriously. We apologize, as Mr. English said. We take this job, I say job, it's not paid, but it is a job for us. It's our responsibility when we are elected. And we have to collaborate, we have to communicate. We have to be transparent, and we have to hold accountable and be held accountable for what's going on in this district. It's not any one person's fault. I don't like to use the word fault, but it's everybody combined. We get ideas, we try to hand them off. You get ideas, you try to hand them off. We're never always going to agree, but we have to do what's best for everybody and the students. Mr. Yano started late into the year. He's now seeing what we've been unfortunately dealing with before, and he's been thrown into that, and he's been doing a great job. But we have to hold each other accountable for everything. We have to work with everybody. That's our responsibility. And that's my pledge to the stakeholders, and to the employees, and to the supervisors, and to the, to everybody. I want to thank everybody, because if I start naming everybody, I'm going to forget somebody. But everybody worked so hard. Our table up here, our superintendent, our BA, our secretaries, our principals, everybody works hard, and I can't thank you all enough for everything that you do. We take our jobs seriously, and like Mr. Holmes, and I have to agree with Mr. Holmes, Mr. Fiocchi, Ms. Acosta, please keep us updated. It's important because we're being kept updated by parents and other people, and it's just that it's not that, we're trying to make you aware of what we're seeing too. It's not directed at anybody, but we have to be better. And I hold myself that way. We have to be better for those students. It scared me when that first gentleman came up and said there was a kindergarten left off. I about had a heart attack, because I can't imagine having a kindergarten left off at a corner by themselves. I just can't. But on to different things. There's 7 district employees. Thank you so much. Come back in 180 days. We'll find something for you to do. And but I really hope that we're going to start a little bit smoother. I'm very confident of our team, because we are a team, and we're in this together, folks. So I hope we have a smoother year, or next couple weeks at least, and I'm hoping for good things. And I know we're going to have good things here in this district. So thank you. God bless you all, and have a good night.
Good evening, everyone. On the first day of school, I had the great privilege and honor to go with Mr. Yano to several schools, a couple of schools in the district on opening day, and just to see the joy of the kids and the teachers on, being able to be in person for such a long time, not being able to. I can see the dedication of the teachers. I can see the joy and the eagerness of the kids wanting to learn, and just wanting to be there with their friends. I can attest to my own children on their first day. They were very excited, to be there. As far as the transportation, we all know we messed up. We all know that. And I say we because we're a team, and I take it as that. And each and every one of us are responsible for those children in the school district. And I know we can do better, and I know we will do better. I'm 100% confident that we will. It is, I apologize to those parents that had to wait, long times to hear the status of their children. Quiero pedirle perdón a la comunidad por los problemas que sucedió con la transportación. Perdónanos, forgive us, but we will do better. I promise you we will do better. And I personally offer myself in any way, shape, or form that I can be of help, that I can be of assistance. You can count on me. And like I said, we're a team. We win as a team, we lose as a team, but we do it always as a team. Have a good night.
Thank you, Mr. Rivera. Mr. Sobrano.
Listening to the parents tonight at the podium reminded me of all the phone calls I took at the communications department when I was working. And I remember the fear and the panic, the anger and the near hysteria that people were experiencing when they didn't know where their child was, whether they were safe and when they were going to be home. That's one of our, if not our prime directive, a sacred mission, and we have to do that. Whatever is required within reason and within the scope of finances, we have to do. Being back to school and students enjoying the in-person learning experience is great, but it all goes down the drain if we can't count on getting them there and back safely. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Mr. Sobrano. Mr. Silva.
I echo all the board members' sentiments. We do have to do better. there's not anything else to say. I just want to thank, on a lighter note, I also want to thank you guys for the hard work and dedication that you guys are putting in. I know it's hard. I'm in the trenches myself too, and I know it's a lot of logistical nightmare to do certain things, and you need proper funding, things have to go out to bid, you have to wait, the state of New Jersey wants you to wait 30 days, then it gets board approved. So it's a long process just to get one thing approved, and I understand that. So I would like to thank you guys for putting the effort and working together as a team and to do better. But I thank you guys. Have a good night.
Thank you, Mr. Silva. Ms. Spinelli.
Good evening. I think we're all on the same page when it comes to the transportation issues, and I think that we have a great group of people here. We've made mistakes. There was things that weren't ideal, but I know tomorrow people are going to come together. They're going to take everything in, digest it, come up with a good plan. I'm very confident that we're not going to keep making the same mistakes over and over. Again, I'm always here to help. I am a parent. I was affected by the bus coming late and the chaos of rushing my kids to school the first day, so I get it. I'm always here for a voice, and I support you guys in what you do, and I want to thank our bus drivers because they are killing it out there. They're picking up extra runs. Like I said, they're sanitizing buses. They have so many other things to do, and I think that we really need to do something special for them. Thank you.
Agreed. Thank you, Ms. Spinelli. Superintendent Yano.
Thank you. So I want to assure the Board of Education and the community that we are meeting daily since the first day of school on transportation challenges and throughout the summer prior leading up to the first day of school. We are developing action plans to remediate. Of course, we want to be perfect on the first day. Clearly, we were not, and we take accountability for that as a group, as a leadership team, and we're going to make improvements along with the support of our drivers, our dispatch team, Mr. Hall, and the rest of his crew. So it's a work in progress, but we will get to a better place soon. Just want to help or just let everyone know that today is the first day of Hispanic Heritage Month. At our next board meeting, we'll have a presentation on some of the ways that we are honoring the Hispanic community in Vineland from our schools. We'll be celebrating, so we'll have a fun time at our next meeting. And I also just want to remind everyone that our COVID-19 dashboard information is on our website. There's a COVID page. Our most up-to-date plans are up there, as well as a chart that tracks each school reported case and confirmed by Vineland Health Department. There's a lag time between the confirmed and reported timeline because it's the Department of Health that has to confirm that there's a positive case. We received word from the county today that there is beginning to be a backlog in the testing process. They're starting to see some delays that they didn't see a week or so ago. So the time between testing and report or documentation seems to be getting a little bit longer. But that information is available for review. It is updated daily. There might have been a lag in the last week, but it will be up to date every day. So you'll see each school and what is going on in each building. When there's a COVID positive case, student or staff, there is a letter that we crafted centrally that is going out from every school on those days. So you should receive something through Blackboard. I know Blackboard is getting a bad rap today, but that seems to be the tool that the district has invested in significantly over time. We're able to see, get text messages and phone calls and documents linked to that through that process. So that's how we are communicating. If we need to do additional avenues, we can look at parent portal as an option in other areas. But of course, parents have to be able to view it, and you need a device, of course, to view those different reports. So just those three areas I wanted to put out there on the table. We'll be back again next month with some more information for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Superintendent Yano. I believe the message has been sent pretty loud and clear. And again, it's not on any one person's shoulder. Mr. Holmes, I guess the acronym CCT, we thought everybody understood it, but I don't know that they understand what it means. It's communication, it's collaboration, and it's transparency. And if you use it, you honestly can't go wrong. The minute you deviate from that path, just like when you don't follow your policies, you get yourself in trouble. It's so simple, but yet some people don't understand. But again, new face, new leadership, we see how it goes. I have to apologize to Superintendent Yano because truly, you don't know what you got till you got it. When you got it, it's a little bigger than it is. We are the size of a SEPTA fleet bus. We put our faith in Mr. Hall when we hired him with the new title. The confidence was there. A committee set in place to make it happen. If anyone's taking it personal tonight, you have to digest it the way you want to digest it. But the ultimate way is to fix it. And when Ms. Bakley spoke today, I think she really hit the nail on the head. It's really easy to point fingers at people. There are many people doing far beyond their daily duty and their job description and doing a hell of a job getting there. There are others that might not be. So you know what? I thank all that have kicked it in and given that extra time. I can only imagine. I know what transportation looked like, but has anybody thought about what the HR department looked like the last year and a half, let alone since the latest stipulations came down from the state? We stripped that. That department, through budget cuts, has been gutted, as several other ones have been. And what happens is we are now a culmination of what the lack of funding from the state has done to a district like Vineland, because I remember Mr. Hall's department with 4 people. I'll go down the list. Everyone says, oh, we want to get back to where it was. It's impossible, and it never will be, because you can only produce so much with the limited staff we're all operating with. So it's a lot deeper than this one blew it, that one blew it, whatever. Hey, we can't change what happened, but we definitely can change the future. And I think we're geared to the right direction. I always love public people coming to podium, and I see Ms. McBride came back, and when I see Mrs. McBride, I think you would be, it sounds like you're extremely busy, but someone like you're the perfect person to be sitting right in this chair, because you tell the truth, you tell it like it is, and I believe you're the kind that doesn't take no for an answer. I thank you for continuing to come up and tell us things that we might not like to hear, and you might not like what you're hearing, but you've made a commitment to yourself, your family, and your community to be that voice of the people. So thank you for taking the time. And you know what? Many people watch it on YouTube, whatever they do, but to have that courage to go up here really says something. The same with Ms. Bakley. Whether what she said was right, wrong, or indifferent, she went against that grain. Many teachers don't come to the podium because they've always said, we're afraid of the repercussion. Well, I've always said, then you're not fulfilling what your rule or your lifelong thing of being a teacher is. Come up there and let us know what's happening. Again, it's the people in the trenches. We didn't forget about what those good bus drivers are doing, because again, the most important thing to me is, what's that first face you see in the morning? Unfortunately, it's now a bus driver with a mask, but it's COVID. Masks are there, so bam, we're wearing the mask. And that last thing at night is that bus driver again. So, you know, you don't want to tier positions. I believe everybody's equal in the Vineland Public School District. The paychecks you receive say the Vineland Public School District. The side of the school bus, what's it say? Vineland Public School District. What's this mask say? Vineland Public School District. It's still that team concept. I'm going to close with one thing that, if you get a chance to Google it, or YouTube, the Vineland football game. Vineland came back the other night, and anybody who knows football, I know football. Anybody who knows the game of football, it's tough enough to play a talented team when you're 0-2 like Lenape was. You're going out on the road, and then you're getting beat. There was a certain play in that game when there was a defensive back, and forgive me because I don't remember the name. I believe it was number 2 or number 20. He came across that field. The kid from Lenape was going to score, but he tackled him on the 1-yard line. That told me he didn't give up. Lenape went on to score the touchdown, but the kid never gave up, and it sent a message to me watching, but it sent a message to his team that, you know what? there's still a football game to win here. And what did they do? They came back and won the football game. So the moral of the story really is, when it looks bad, hey, there's always some light at the end of the tunnel. You're a team. Let's get it done. And I know that the team here went downstairs and was doing a lot of work helping with what was going on Thursday. And I know principals, secretaries, teachers staying after hours. The problem was there was just not enough to make everyone happy. It will get better. But the short of it is, until we can find bus drivers, it's going to be very hard. And I do understand it. I think this board understands it. But the most important thing is, I'm not blowing any smoke, guys. You are doing great things. But that team concept, we're all on the same team. So it shouldn't be, well, thank God that's not my department. No, maybe you got an idea that might help that department. So it's all hands on deck. That's all I have this evening. Thanks to everyone. I know it was a long meeting, but that's pretty much all I have for you tonight. At this time, can I have a motion for adjournment? All in favor? Aye. Thank you and good evening.